Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing today on this lovely Tuesday? No, Monday. It's Monday. It's not Tuesday. It's Monday. Happy Monday. I kind of forgot for a second. I was like, Tuesday? It's not Tuesday. It's Monday. It's a new week. A new start to the week. Pretty good stuff, if you ask me. Did you guys have a good weekend? Did you have a nice weekend? Did you do anything fun? My weekend was pretty chill, honestly. I really didn't do much. I really didn't do too much, honestly. But that's good, though. Yeah, I almost said Tuesday in it, and then I was like, oh, it's not Tuesday, though. It's not Tuesday. Your weekend was amazing. I saw a little bit in the mod chat. I'm really happy for you from what I saw. That's really awesome. That's very awesome. Awesome sauce. Do people say awesome sauce anymore? Is that something anyone says? Did you guys ever say awesome sauce? I still say it and it's a little dorky, I think, but that's fine. That is awesome sauce. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, my weekend was like, I feel like sometimes you just need a chill, kind of like boring weekend, you know? You just need a weekend where you're just doing not much. You're just hanging around the house, you know, watching TV, relaxing, not really going anywhere. We went to mass yesterday. That was nice, but other than that, I was at home all weekend, and it was great. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I got, I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday. One of those days I did like a bunch of cleaning, and I got everything kind of just like all clean, all ready, all done. And then like I kept it pretty clean throughout the week or weekend. And it's just, I don't know, I feel so much more like chill and like I can relax, I can breathe when everything is clean around me. It like, because when things are really messy, it's like you can't relax. I don't know if it's just me. I mean, I'm sure everyone's probably a little different. For me, when things are super messy all around me and cluttered, and I know there's like, you know, laundry piled up or a bunch of dishes, it's like I cannot relax. Even if I try to like close, like let's say like my closet's like a mess, right? And I close the door. My brain still knows what's on the other side of that door. My brain is aware, and it's like, fix it. Fix it. You can't lay down. You can't relax. You need to fix it. But when everything's done, everything's clean, it's so peaceful. It's like you can finally just like rest without your brain. I mean, because I'm really guilty of like when I try to lay down or just relax, my brain will start to like race about like all the different things. Like I'll start thinking of a million things, including like all the things I need to do, all the things I've done. What am I going to do today? What do I need to do this week? Do I need to call somewhere? Do I need to set something up? Is there any appointments? Like your brain just starts like you can't relax, you know what I mean? But whenever things are taken care of and you can finally just relax, it's a very nice feeling. So yeah, that was basically how my weekend was. It was very chill, comfy weekend. You're basically saying what I need to do. I mean, I will say like I think it's good for anyone if you can. I know like sometimes people are really busy, lives get hectic, and sometimes things are just messy, you know, like sometimes it just happens. But like if you can be intentional and take some time to straighten things up and to just like get things to be pretty tidy around you, I promise it makes a difference in your mental health. Like it really does. And I think we can all use like, I don't know, I think everyone can use improved mental health. So today we are going to be reacting to this video. I'm gonna preface it by saying I don't really know the girl in the video. I posted on Twitter that I was gonna be reacting to this, and I got a couple comments about her. I don't know, maybe some stuff she's done in the past, maybe some of her opinions have changed over time a little bit. I mean, I think she talks about that a little bit in this video. I did watch the first like 30 minutes of this yesterday. Someone actually sent it to me, and I was like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. I'd seen her on Twitter before, but I really don't know much about her, but I think that's kind of irrelevant. I don't really need to know all about her and her background or anything problematic, just to be able to like watch this video and listen to her thoughts on this topic and kind of just be able to talk about it with you guys. Because from what I watched, a lot of it really did resonate with me, and I just feel like it's something that I kind of wanted to watch with you guys and talk about, and we can have a conversation about certain things, because I think that is good to do. So yeah, but yeah, I don't really know her a ton. This isn't, whenever I react to someone, like, and this goes for anybody, that's not me like putting a stamp of approval on everything they ever do or have done. Which I feel like that should be obvious no matter what, you know what I mean? Just like if I was to go on someone else's stream or something, or someone was to react to one of my videos or one of Rev's videos or anyone's videos, like, I feel like it should be common knowledge, but sometimes you just have to clarify. So I just wanted to clarify that, but we are going to get started and kind of just hop right into it. I am excited to watch this with you guys, and specifically to watch the parts that I haven't seen yet, because I did stop at about halfway, a little under halfway through. So yeah, okay. Nodders, just because you agree with something they say doesn't mean you agree with everything. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, that's why I'm like, I don't think it really matters. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter. All those things just don't really matter that much. You know what I mean? Because, like, I'm just listening. I'm just taking what she says here at face value. I don't really know much about Lauren Southern. I don't really know much about her past, things she's been involved in. I'm just, like, taking this video face value, and we can just get into it together. So, yeah. Also, Stony, thank you for the membership. Welcome to the Little Strawbs. Thank you, thank you. Let me turn it up so you guys can hear it okay. Let's see, I want to make sure you can hear it okay. Okay.
No C.
Oh,
not
that's loud. This is what I have to check.
Hey, everybody. Long time no see. Not dead, despite how many governments and shady influencers might wish it. Still kicking, and as I mentioned, 5 months ago now? If I came back, it would only be because I actually had something worth saying. And unfortunately, I do. Because what the hell is...
Hold on, I want to see... Yeah, I'm on 480p. No thank you. Let's try and get some more pixels. Sorry. That bothers me.
Hey, everybody. Long time no see. Not dead, despite how many governments and shady influencers might wish it. Still kicking, and as I mentioned, 5 months ago now? If I came back, it would only be because I actually had something worth saying. And unfortunately, I do. Because what the hell is going on here?
What do you think about these Netanyahu AI videos?
I haven't seen him.
You haven't seen them?
No.
Oh, they think he might be dead.
I don't even... Whenever I was watching this part, because like I said, I did watch the first little bit of this yesterday, I don't keep up with Joe Rogan. I don't watch all of these people that much, so I just am not aware of all these things. But they're talking about, like, that AI Netanyahu might be dead or something. I'm just so confused. I was like, I literally had not heard of that. Also, you don't trust her? Well, like I said, I don't really know much about her as a person. I'm just kind of watching and getting, like, just listening to what she has to say. Because from what I watched yesterday, I liked a lot of what she had to say in this. So, Lauren Southern did some good things in the past. She's really a lefty. I'm just not sure, but you know, some people call me a lefty, even though I'm not. So it's like hard. It's hard. You know, what do labels even really mean anymore? But either way, I think this will be an interesting watch for us.
What?
Yeah, there's a bunch of AI videos that Israel has released that are like clearly AI.
What?
Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third
Now, I'll be honest. There was a while where I was watching some Candace Owens. I can fully admit she seems like a crazy person to me now. And I hate to say it because, like, I don't know. I think sometimes she can maybe make some good points. Like, I don't think everything she says necessarily is, like, automatically insane. But, yeah, some of these clips especially, it's, like, talking about her third eye. But she's supposed to be Catholic. And she's talking about astral projection. And, like, I don't know about all of that, Candace. It's kind of crazy to me.
third eye. We spoke about a lot of the things that were strange in our childhood, the testing that both of us had to endure. We spoke about the fact that we could both astral project.
Candace.
Yeah, like, astral projection is, like, not something that, like, the Catholic Church, which is what Candace is a part of, or just, like, Christians in general, like, you don't believe in astral projecting and, like, the third eye. Like, I don't understand. Well, I don't even understand, like, how, I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it. It's kind of crazy.
Owens is a fucking evil scumbag. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you fucking told me? She has no security. She doesn't fucking deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer. And all of these fucking conservatives out there that send me these fucking messages.
Isn't this that Tim Pool guy? I don't know him, but I just know him because Rev told me he always wears his beanie. And apparently there are photos of him, like, in full suits with a beanie on. That's all I know about him, though.
Messages have no.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
And you
And let me just say, because some people will not like what I have to say about this, like, I've already been told I'm tone policing and all these things. I'm sorry. There's no good excuse for the way Andrew is speaking here and in some other clips that are going to be mentioned. I get clearly she got under his skin talking about his wife. I get it. She's not entirely incorrect. And Lauren will make a good point about how Andrew could have used this as a good witnessing opportunity, but instead speaks to her in the way he does. And listen, some of his arguments honestly are pretty sound. Like, I get where he's coming from. And, you know, you can call me a tone policer all you want, but I do think the way we talk matters. And I'm sorry, but some of the things he says is just gross. Like, I just don't understand how people try and justify it. But you'll hear this is really gross, so I'm sorry in advance.
You lick sniz.
Under your religion.
You lick sniz.
What is that?
You're a fucking dyke. Don't talk shit about my wife, you stupid bitch. Shut your fucking mouth.
What is going on?
I genuinely don't know what the counterculture dissident political movement is anymore, or what it's even fighting for at this point. I cannot keep track of who is being paid by what government, even myself apparently.
Apparently me and Rev too, we're being paid by, we're shills for, so we saw that one tweet, they said that we were shills for Asmongold and Kirsha, and even the US government was paying us apparently. I was like, bro, where's my check at? Like, what?
Or who is accusing who of murdering Charlie Kirk? I am watching 50-year-old political influencers have flame wars over micro-penises and blowjobs. Trump's converted to Islam, apparently. Meanwhile, the large...
That was weird. Did you guys see that? Praise be to Allah. I don't know. It's... Yeah, I mean, he's a whole other can of worms, right?
Podcasters on Earth can casually announce that Benjamin Netanyahu is dead because it was trending for 6 minutes on Twitter. True or not, whatever seems to make it to the top of the algorithmic slop heap is just reality for the day. There's no more
He was being a smart, but okay. Maybe that would actually make more sense, but it's still weird. But that's besides the point.
journalism or fact checking or reading court cases. And at this point, I kind of just respect the people who have just embraced the accelerationism. The teenagers who are bone smashing and doing meth to Mog on the internet like Clavicular, just full Zoolander reality. Or whoever put out this ad on the White House media team.
What is going on?
The heat from the USA. Pins down. What a strike. That's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
I mean, you guys know how I feel about the White House memes. If it was a random person making it, it would be... I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it can't be funny. However, I've made my stance on it clear. I know some people disagree. I wish that the White House didn't meme, and I wish that everything in the government was more professional on all sides of the spectrum. I don't want to see memes coming from official government pages. I just don't. I don't think that'll ever change. I don't think my opinion on that will ever change. Phoenix on Side Scrollers made a good point of, like, they're just doing what they think will get them the most votes, and, like, they have to kind of appeal to meme culture and, like, you know, Gen Z and all this stuff, like, on both sides, like, they're all doing it. And, like, I guess I could see that, but I still hate it. I think I'm always gonna hate it. I'm not saying none of them could ever be funny, but I hate it. Like, I just wish there was more professionalism all the way around, but that's kind of besides the point.
It's all just performance art at this point, idiocracy, and I've reached a level of internal acceptance, peace, that people don't want politics. They want entertainment, and so be it. But there's one part of this I can't just shrug at. One part that's kind of deeply personal, to be honest, and that is the rise of Christianity as a prop in this performance. Because right now, quite frankly, I am more likely to see someone with a cross in their bio calling someone a slur or saying God wants us to bomb the Middle East than saying anything remotely recognizable as the message of Jesus Christ. And I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Because what has happened to so-called Christians online?
I mean, listen, nobody's perfect, and I'm not going to sit here and say that someone can't be a Christian, or I'm not going to, like, personally, I don't think it's my place to, like, question someone's salvation, to question if someone truly loves God or not, you know. I don't think it's my place to, like, judge that, to condemn someone, you know. That's just not my place to do that. That's God's realm, not mine. However, I will say there's definitely truth to this, I feel like. So let's hear her extremely Christian origin story.
Before I begin talking about this subject, I think it's important to tell you a bit about my history so you understand why I am particularly befuddled, bamboozled, dare I say, by what I am witnessing right now. I had a very, very Christian childhood. I mean, like, we were charismatic. Miracles, prophecies, speaking in tongues. My dad literally worked for Kenneth Copeland when I was super little. If you don't know who that guy is, that's this dude. I have a core memory of being, like, X-Men tested for my ability to speak in tongues at Sunday school and talking in gibberish so I didn't look like the only idiot who couldn't speak to angels. Then going home and thinking I was going to hell for lying.
That's so sad, by the way. I didn't grow up in extremely charismatic churches. I grew up in more, like, non-denominational and, like, Baptist churches, so definitely not super charismatic. People weren't, like... I mean, like, people in my churches, like, believed in speaking in tongues and things, but they didn't believe it was, like, everyone could do it. And, like, if you didn't do it, like, it wasn't like you were being tested like this. That's really sad. Someone said Andrew Wilson should have better composed himself, like Trent Horn said. Personally, I am like a decent fan of Trent Horn. I haven't seen a ton of his stuff, but I have watched a decent amount of his stuff, and I generally like him. But I was actually watching him earlier, and he had said in his latest video that a lot of people like on the one side they say he's like, you know, this like right-wing bad blah blah, like leftists will feel that way about him, but he was like, and on the other side they think he's like a liberal hippie. And I was like, yeah, that's like what people think about me, you know? Like, people think that I'm a liberal hippie. People tell me that I'm like a leftist liberal all the time, and I'm like, how? I don't understand. Even yesterday on Rev's stream, someone was like, I think Strawb is on the left or something. Or no, actually they said I was like center, which I think is more fair to say than like a leftist. But I still think I definitely lean right. Am pretty conservative in a lot of ways, so I don't know, but sometimes you're just never going to be right enough for like the super hardcore alt-right people. Was she evangelical? I believe she's still evangelical, but like evangelical, it's a lot more like they get the stereotype of being nutty. I mean, like, while I am currently going to a Catholic church, like historically I've always referred to myself as evangelical. So I won't say they're all nutty. I think there's a lot of great evangelicals. I do think there are also some evangelicals that definitely are nutty, but they're not all like super charismatic. You know, Protestant or evangelical or whatever you want to call them, churches are so different in terms of like, you go to one Baptist church could be very, very different from a different Baptist church. And same with like any other kind of evangelical church. They can just really range a lot.
To my parents' credit, we left that church eventually. They had me and my sister quite young and didn't come from stable family backgrounds or traditions. So despite some of the weirder experiences I had in religious circles, I honestly feel incredibly lucky that I had parents who were trying to find structure and meaning in their life, even if it included a bit of theological stumbling in the dark. And in a way, you know, my childhood was kind of cool because I got to do like a tasting board of all these different Protestant denominations, a few years at a Baptist church, a few years at a Mennonite church, evangelical, reform. I went to a Pentecostal school until I was 14. I attended Bible study.
Yeah, the charismatic stuff definitely makes me think like Pentecostal. So I know I'm pretty sure a lot of Pentecostals are pretty like very charismatic.
Well into my teen years. And then as I got older, I started encountering Catholicism and I attended Mass and learned why my parents warned me to stay away from those Catholic bad boys. I'm just kidding. I love you Catholics. On a serious note, my Achilles heel is clearly an obsession with a good Romeo and Juliet story. Anyways, why do I say all of this? Why am I litigating my entire past? My point is, I have lived and breathed the Christian culture and tradition in the real world my entire life. I've been a part of these communities in multiple denominations and continents. I still have my Adventures in Odyssey CDs. I am a true card-holding member of 90s Christian kids. And let me tell you, not once, not a single one of these churches I attended over my 30 years on this earth, not one sermon, youth group, or even home group, have I heard a single word that has sounded anything like the version of Christianity I see on the internet today. Never. Not even at the wacky prosperity gospel churches I've gone to.
And I think that's a really good point that she's making. It's just like we see things online from like people who, you know, they say they're, and again, I'm not going to sit here and say they're not Christians, right? I'm not going to say that, but like the type of Christianity that we do see online, especially when it's so intertwined with politics, which I think is fair because a lot of political things are also things that are biblical and like they all kind of intertwine. I get it. I do. And I talk about political things sometimes too, you know. But like the way a lot of these conversations happen online, you would just never, like these people would never say that in a church, you know? Like, or at least I have a hard time believing they would, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not even saying just like a regular church service, but like go to like a Bible study or something, and like you're having a conversation about some of these topics, people just wouldn't speak the same way. Or at least I feel like they wouldn't. Like whenever I've been to the Bible studies, like whether it was like, because like I said, right now I'm going to Catholic Mass, but before that we were going to a Baptist church, and we would go to like the Sunday school classes like before church service or after sometimes. That was just not how conversations in those spheres have ever happened from what I've experienced. Like I just can't fathom a lot of the discourse that you do see online like actually happening in those settings. Does that make sense? And it doesn't necessarily mean that like people's opinions are wrong just because they say them in a way that's very abrasive or divisive, but I do think that sometimes it can cause people to not actually hear you out because you are being so abrasive with your language. And it's not to say that we can't have strong convictions and speak on those convictions and be honest, but I think when it starts coming down to like personal insults and like yelling at someone, and it gets a lot more muddy, I think, and messy.
What is going on? Some of the most prominent voices I see online claiming to represent Christians on the internet would not just be reprimanded by church leadership, but like physically removed from the building for some of the things they flippantly say on a daily basis. I sure as hell never heard Larry the Cucumber utter the word femoid, slut, body count, and damn well, Mr. Whitaker would never. So I'm pretty confident this stuff is not coming from the church culture or the community I grew up in. So today, I'm going to try. I'm going to put in an honest to God effort to answer why it is that the average person's perception of Christians online is this. My favorite part of the Bible is where Jesus says to log online and call people slurs all day. I'm gonna be real. I don't think the majority of people Christ posting all day, building up this reputation, are connected to actual Christian communities in real life at all. Communities.
I think that might be the case for some of them. I feel like maybe a lot of the people who speak a certain way online, I think a lot of it's like memeing, like they're joking in certain regards. Some people are very much not. But I would almost argue that they're probably just very different in their real church communities. Like I would just think like, a lot of these people, they probably do go to church. I'm sure some of them don't. But, like, I'm sure a lot of them actually do go to church. They probably just don't act the same way they act on the internet. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they act differently depending on who they're around and where they are. Because I just can't fathom being in, like, a Sunday school class and, like, you're talking about some of these topics that people talk about online and someone acting the same way they act on Twitter. So like abrasive and like calling women whores and, just like so flippantly. I just can't imagine someone doing that like in a real church setting. But maybe I'm just naive, but I've never experienced it. And I've been to many a Bible study. I've never experienced that.
Who tend to be the backbone of an enormous amount of charity, community life, and quiet service, everyday acts of kindness. And you know what? I think Christians deserve better. I think they deserve better than having their faith publicly worn like a skin suit by political performers and culture warriors looking for a moral costume design. And wait, I know what some of you may be thinking. What about you, Lauren? What damn moral authority do you have to jump in here and say anything about what Christianity actually is versus what it isn't? None. I have no moral authority. My life is a mess.
Well, at least she's being honest. And again, I don't know anything about Lauren Southern. I know I've seen some people in the comments saying, oh, this is Lauren Southern, blah, blah. I genuinely don't know anything about her. I don't know all these things about her. I didn't even know anything about her before I watched this video at all. And I don't think that Christianity is all about kindness or niceness. I think kindness is different than niceness, but I do think that you should try to be kind to people. It's not always going to look exactly the same way. Sometimes being kind is being very firm and honest and hurting someone's feelings. But I'm sorry, I can't, like, sign off on some of the things people say online when they say they're being Christ-like, and then you're calling a woman, like, you're saying, like, oh, you're a whore, blah, blah, the only thing you have to offer is your body, like, stuff like that. I just think I just don't think it's helpful, honestly. I don't feel like it's going to bring people to Christ. Like, I don't think by being like, oh, you're just a stupid whore, you know, you're just dumb, you'll never get it, like, you know, like the things that Andrew was saying to that girl, like, I don't think those things are Christ-like, and I don't think that's going to make the girl want to repent or follow Jesus at all. So
I could sit here and I could tell you that I read my Bible, I pray, and I believe in God, and that would be true. But I could also tell you I haven't been to church in over a year. I have parts of my life in mind that do not line up neatly with scripture at all, and I question whether I should call myself a Christian at all. And that would be true too. So I am not speaking from some holier than thou position. If anything, I think I have been directly involved in creating the current downfall of online Christianity, and thus feel uniquely qualified to critique it from a place of personal understanding, but also just observation of very real patterns and facts that anyone could recognize if they had the same information about scripture, which I just so happen to have, largely because, well, some of you were too busy spending your childhoods summoning demons with Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I was out here clocking 200 hours in Captain Bible and the Dome of Darkness at 8 years old. 1995.
And I will say, you know, I think it's important for everyone to just at the very least think about these things, you know, because in certain ways we're all hypocrites, right? Like, you know, if they have the saying, right, of like, oh, I don't want to go to church because church is filled with hypocrites. Yeah, and we could use one more. Come on, come to church. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're all hypocrites to certain degrees. Like, no one's perfect. But we should think about these things because these things are important. So, does not attending church make one less Christian? Depends on who you ask. No. I mean, personally, I don't think it makes you less Christian. I think it's important to attend church. I don't think not going to church for a while automatically, like, means you're not a Christian anymore. But I think these conversations are more nuanced than that. I don't think everything's so black and white all the time. But that's just how I feel.
Absolute banger. Entire premise, not even kidding, you enter a digital dome that humanity has been trapped under by Dr. Genesis, who is a wealthy scientist guy. Anyways, the dome is full of robot demons who are programmed to lie to you about what the Bible actually says and to keep the population deceived. It's your job to enter the Dome of Darkness and have a good enough knowledge of the right verses and context to debate and debunk their nonsense to free humanity. And if they really get to you, you gotta log off and sit in your prayer room to heal. I have been training my whole life to make this
game sounds pretty cool, I can't lie. I never played that, but sounds pretty nice.
Video. Because apparently, even though that game scared the hell out of me as a kid, it wasn't enough. Apparently its entire premise was just going to become reality like 20 to 30 years later. And that's where we're gonna go next. What went wrong? There's this
Not
really
the Hassan-
fascinating
That Hassan photo, make the rich pay. Oh no.
critique that Jordan Peterson makes about why he refuses to answer when people ask if he's a Christian. And it goes like this.
The question is almost always manipulative. It's not really a question. It's a veiled demand that I declare my allegiance in the manner they see fit at that moment. No, thank you.
Now, obviously, there are two ways to read that. A more cynical reading would be, I don't want to lose my Christian audience, so I'm going to avoid giving a firm answer. And that is entirely possible. But there's also a more charitable reading, and honestly one I deeply understand. Whenever you are asked about your faith in media, politics, or online discourse, people don't really give a shit about your actual spiritual life. They're more interested in hearing whether you will publicly signal membership in their group. They don't want to know what you believe, they want reassurance. That Peterson is on the team or that I'm on the team, a clean friend-enemy distinction, which is where
I will say that's very true, although I do think that we should not hide the fact that we're Christians. I think if someone asks you if you're a Christian, you should say yes. If you believe in Jesus Christ, like, you should say yes. You shouldn't hide it. But at the same time, I definitely get what she's saying. Like, people want to know if you're on their team. They want to know, oh, do I like this person or do I not like this person? And that goes on all sides of politics, right? They want to know, like, are you with me or are you against me? Because that's how it works.
Where a lot of online Christianity has gone.
And I'm not saying you should have to from, like, a First Amendment perspective. I'm saying as a Christian, I feel like we should proudly proclaim Jesus Christ. We should not want to hide it. I'm not saying that you have to from, like, a legal standpoint. I'm speaking from a religious standpoint.
Wrong, in my opinion. It's functionally become team sports. Us versus them. Are you posting Christ is King? Do you have the cross emoji in your bio? Do you hate those muzzies too? Did you hit like and subscribe to save the West? Also, donate to my...
One thing that I hate, I will say I see all the time on like when I'm scrolling, especially on TikTok, it's like, if you have a minute for Jesus, don't scroll or something, or like this if you love Jesus. I'm like, do not do that to me. That drives me crazy. Like, that is not... The moment I hear that, I'm like, I'm going to click out of whatever this is, because I will not be manipulated by you using Christ's name to get me to, like, watch your video or, like, buy your... Like, on TikTok, they'll be, like, selling something, and they're like, do you have a minute for Christ? If so, like, keep watching. And it's just like... Okay, and they're trying to, like, sell you some Bible study on the TikTok shop, and I'm like, I literally can't do this. Like, it bothers me so bad. It really bothers me.
My fundraiser, if you love Jesus. Do you see the problem here? Like, everything is now being utilized for what I've seen referred to as the culture war cinematic universe. What is supposed to be a deeply personal, spiritual, and contemplative experience is being monetized, mass-produced, and used for the purpose of politics. And I'm not saying this hasn't been done before in history. Obviously, the church has been corrupt before, but it's taken on a whole new form in the era of the internet algorithms, AI, and bots. And I think people first started getting really uncomfortable with this new era of overtly political religiosity after Charlie Kirk's murder, which was this landmark emotional moment for a lot of people, myself included. But then...
Yeah, I'll never forget that day. I remember exactly where I was. I remember I was sitting on my bed. I had just heated up a frozen, like, little, like, chicken bowl thing for lunch. I was, like, about to start eating, and Rev walked in and told me that Charlie Kirk had been shot. And I just remember, like, freezing, like, scrambling for my phone, scrambling for the news on the TV, and, like, just, like, looking in horror as all of a sudden the videos start popping up left and right, and I actually see it with my own eyes, like, a million times over and over again. And then you're looking closely because some people were saying it was AI, some people were saying it wasn't real, some people were saying it was real. And so I kept watching it to try and discern, like, does that look real? I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of blood. Like, it was, if you guys saw it, which, I mean, that's a whole separate topic of, like, how we see such, like, brutal things all the time online, like, and we just become almost desensitized to it. But that video was just awful, and like, you can't get it out of your head. Like, even now, almost a year later, it's, you know, a little under a year, but even now, like, you can't get it out of your head. it's just crazy. And it's so sad. And, I mean, yeah, there's no other words to describe that. I had so much respect for Charlie. He really changed my mind on a lot of things, you know. I always talk about, like, I used to, like, hate watch him, like, years ago. I would watch him and be like, this guy's so annoying, you know. And then, like, slowly over time, I was like, he actually is making some points. And then I feel like it wasn't until I actually became religious myself that I was able... Nice freeze frame. That was an accident. But it wasn't until I myself became religious that I really fully was able to get on board with more of his points, honestly. Before I really was a religious person at all, I think that was what was keeping me from a lot of it. But, yeah. You respected Charlie, you disagreed with him on plenty of things, but you respected him. And I think that's, like, important, right? Like, you can disagree with someone, you can think someone has some bad takes, you know, but, like, there's a level of, like, respect with people like Charlie for the way he conducted himself, the way he handled himself. Like, he was just a respectable guy. And it's just so sad that someone like him, that would be his, that would be the way he went out. It's just very, very sad and tragic.
There was the twist. Because immediately following this tragedy, what I would have imagined should have been a somber ceremony became this insane political spectacle with
crazy.
Fireworks, repeated references to God, all between political campaigning.
We're going to be doing it with...
I will say, when I saw this, and I get Charlie Kirk was a huge person. I get making it special. If they wanted to do fireworks, some people might think it's weird. Whatever. I mean, like, but when it came to, like, this, Trump talking about political stuff, and then I think also at one point during the funeral, Trump had said something about, like, Charlie wanted me to forgive people, I'll never forgive people, or something. At Charlie's own funeral? At Charlie's own funeral, you're gonna say he would have wanted you to forgive, but you're not gonna forgive? Like, and then bringing up the stuff about autism and political stuff at a funeral. I was just like, it's just not right. It's just not right.
Bobby and Oz and all of the professionals, I think you're going to find it to be amazing. I think we found an answer to autism. How about that? Autism tomorrow.
On top of this, you also just had a whole strange genre of deification that happened where politicians and commentators were saying Charlie Kirk was a saint or that Jesus Christ was asking for his autograph in heaven.
So their legacy grows, and Charlie's will too, beyond his wildest dreams. And where Charlie is right now, he is fine. I picture God asking him for his autograph.
Don't get me wrong, I think Charlie Kirk was definitely a man that loved Jesus Christ. I really do think that, and but to say that God would have asked for Charlie Kirk's autograph? Are we forgetting who God, our God of the entire universe? The God that created everything in the whole world, literally everything in the entire universe, the God of the universe, is going to ask for his autograph? Okay. Rima, hi! I started watching this, I was thinking of you. It was actually Jim sent this to me the other day, and he was like, I think you would enjoy this. And I was like, I'll watch it. And then I watched some of it, and I was like, I'm going to react to this, actually. It's pretty interesting. Oh, yeah, you're good. We're only 12 minutes in, so, yep.
I would say if Charlie Kirk lived in the biblical times, he'd have been the 13th disciple.
Bro, there were 12 disciples for a reason. Like, why? Just, like, there are so many good... I'm sorry, it's really not funny, but there are so many things you could say about Charlie. You know, how amazing he was. Like, I really think he was a guy with genuine conviction. He was a father. He was a husband. There are so many good things you could say about him. He really influenced the youth, you know. He really changed a lot of people's minds. He was very respectful in the way he conducted with people. To say that he would be you believe he would have been the 13th disciple? Let's just let's take a step back here. Let's take a step back, okay?
He'd have been the 13th disciple.
Had to say
the
it
whole
again.
thing was just weird, man. It was just weird. And that's not even touching on the Facebook boomers and their AI posts.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
He doesn't even look like Charlie. It looks like Uncanny Valley creepy, but okay.
Knock, knock, knocking on.
Worst of all, though, by far, was when all of this amalgamated into a political pressure campaign, forcing people to fall in line. You saw mass statements that if your church didn't mention Charlie Kirk, you had to stop attending it. Or if you thought any of this was just kind of weird, how dare you criticize a grieving widow? Not only are you a bad Republican, you're a bad Christian. And I think for a political movement, the dissident right-wing sphere, who are generally suspicious of any sort of cultural pressure to fall in line, especially post-COVID and lockdown, this kind of put people into conspiratorial hyperdrive, which created the likes of Candace Owens' super schizo theories becoming viral sensations. Which, by the way, I beg of you, if you have fallen down that rabbit hole, just take a minute to actually read things like the Macron court case filed against her for defamation, because it is wacky how much she's just straight up inventing. And the same goes for the Charlie Kirk situation.
And we are definitively getting closer to what to...
This clip is funny. She keeps saying, we're getting closer and closer and closer and closer. Yeah, I like I said in the beginning of this, I was watching a little bit of Candace, and yeah, I've come to the conclusion that she's definitely, for sure she's off the deep end. I'm not saying that she can never make, I think someone can be wrong a lot, and what do they say, a broken clock is still right twice a day. I think every now and then she can say something that's relevant, but I don't know. A lot of this stuff specifically has gotten so crazy, and when she's talking about astral projection, and she's accusing people of things, and I don't know.
Took place on that day, and we are getting closer. I think we're close. We are definitively getting closer. We're getting close.
We're getting close.
Very close.
Very
We're
close.
inching ever closer. We are close, and we're getting closer to the truth. We get closer. We are getting close.
But don't worry, guys, she's getting close. We're gonna have the answers, the real answers to Charlie's killer soon. Seriously. I promise you, you are allowed to think firework funerals are cringe and weird without insinuating Erica Kirk of having been involved in her husband's murder. There is a middle ground there. But back to what I was talking about. It wasn't just the conspiracy stuff that came out of all of this. I find that whenever people try to mandate something as holy or sacred that's just human, there's always a backlash of mockery. Like you saw this with land acknowledgements. There's no drunk driving on stolen land. And as for people feeling forced to mourn Charlie Kirk, well, we saw the result of that.
To my friend Charlie Kirk. Rest now, brother. We have the watch. And I'll see you in Valhalla.
We need to go now. The deep state is scraping our signals. They're eating the babies. No time to explain.
Go where? It's 4 a.m. Nigga, what the fuck?
Antarctica.
What is this place?
Home.
What are we doing?
We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. We'll fight for the gospel.
What is going on? Help me, I don't understand.
Regardless of all the mockery and backlash, though,
Yeah, I'm unsure. I really don't have anything to say about any of that other than I'm just deeply confused and a bit disturbed at times.
ton of political capital was gained through the pushing of this seemingly holy mandate that came about post Charlie's death. And the administration, as well as infinite podcasters, are now continually using this language and pressure of who is on God's side and thus which.
Oh, Valentina Gomez. There's just a lot to unpack there, but then the whole powered by Jesus Christ, like putting his name, stamp of approval. I'm with Jesus. So okay.
Even Trump's new spiritual advisor has compared Trump to Jesus Christ himself.
And Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price.
Oh, she's crazy.
It almost cost you your life. You were betrayed and arrested and falsely accused.
She's trying to compare him to Jesus. What are we doing? You too were betrayed and falsely accused.
It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. But it didn't end there for him, and it didn't end there for you.
Huh? Yeah, no, it didn't end there for Jesus Christ. He was literally like on the cross. You couldn't recognize him. All of his flesh was ripped off. And he died the most brutal, unimaginable death. There are no words.
Truth is, with how much of the...
I don't know if also Lauren's gonna play the clip, but also that person who is his like spiritual advisor or whatever also said that if you say no to Trump, it's like saying no to God. Like, it just real crazy town. Real crazy town, all right.
The US population identify as Christian and how much charitable donation Christians give. Religious signaling is just the way to go if you want money and power, unfortunately. Or even, say, justification to start a war, to start bombing countries.
Almighty God, who trains our hands for war and our fingers for battle, you who stirred the nations from the north against Babylon of old, by the blast of your anger let the evil perish, let their bulls go down to slaughter, for their day has come, the time of their punishment. Pour out your wrath upon those who plot vain things, and blow them away like chaff before the wind.
Now listen, I am no fan of the Ayatollahs, but one of the biggest reasons I'm not a fan of them is because they use a religious mandate for political oppression. They strongly believe in Sharia law, and just recently they killed people by the tens of thousands for protesting, hanging teenagers in the street who oppose them, and claiming, would you believe it or not, that it's God's will. So no, a politician just telling me God wills it is not a very convincing argument, given they've done this since the dawn of time to justify infinite horrendous behavior. Right. So how do we tell who is actually speaking God's will and who isn't? How do we discern? Well, from a Christian perspective, we've been given some pretty good clues in the Bible, which clearly no one on Twitter actually reads, because if your only exposure to Christianity has been recent online discourse, you might assume the greatest enemies of Christ were OnlyFans girls, Democrats, and children making makeup tutorials on the internet. When in reality...
I'm genuinely curious what goes through your head as someone who lists Catholic in their bio when you download a video of a child posted on the internet and write "bring back bullying." I actually was involved in this discourse. I talked about it, and yeah, that was crazy. People saying we need to bully bully children, like grown adults saying we need to bully the little boy for his like skincare video. Like, don't get me wrong. I do think certain behaviors should be discouraged. However, to say that we are going to bully children and to post a photo of a literal child, or a video, my bad, of a literal child and say we need to bully him, you as a grown adult saying we need to bully this child. That really got under my skin.
His main
and I get told I'm a feminist liberal for saying that. Like, it just drives me crazy because there can be no nuance at all. Like, I say one thing, I step out of line the tiniest bit with certain people, and I'm all of a sudden a liberal feminist. It just drives me crazy. It really does, because like, I don't get that.
Conflict was repeatedly with a group called the Pharisees. The Pharisees were a...
True, and I think this is a very important point that people don't think about enough when you think about who Jesus was speaking the most harshly to in the Bible. The religious elite hypocrites. But I digress.
Religious movement in first century Judea, known for taking religious law extremely seriously. And to be fair to them, they were not cartoon villains. They were often highly disciplined, highly educated, morally serious people trying to preserve religious identity under political pressure. The problem is that, according to gospel accounts, many of them became obsessed with the appearance of righteousness rather than the substance of it. I'm reminded of when Jesus healed...
Yeah, they were more obsessed with like the letter of the law than the heart of it. And Christ shows us the heart of everything. And I believe a lot of the Pharisees probably had very good intentions, but they were just missing the whole point, you know what I mean? And Jesus was there to show them that point.
Heals a man on the Sabbath in the Gospel of Mark, and the Pharisees go, actually, you're not supposed to heal people on the Sabbath. That's against the rules, because we're not supposed to do any work on the Sabbath. And Jesus is like, guys, the entire point of the Sabbath is to rest, to become closer to God, and cultivate holiness. And helping someone in need is something that draws you closer to God. The point of the Sabbath is not the Sabbath itself. It's a means toward love, justice, and mercy. So basically, half the New Testament is just Jesus correcting these nerds for missing the actual point of everything. They treat religious knowledge as a tool for authority rather than inner transformation. And that is why some of Jesus' harshest language is not aimed at obvious sinners, but at highly respectable religious people who had learned how to weaponize virtue. Which is awkwardly relevant, because once you start noticing that pattern, you start seeing why that conflict still matters now.
This part, the based signaling. Also, someone said, simple answer to the title, he doesn't fit in. It is the culture that must fit in or get left out. Amen. That's so true. And we all can be better about remembering that. Like, again, I'm not making this video to be like wagging my finger at everyone else. Like, I can be guilty of some of this stuff too. I think we all can to certain extents. But I think it's just something that we need to really think about, you know? It's important to think about these things.
Okay, I love that song. Sorry. Unfortunately, the modern Pharisees are a lot less interesting, well-read, and respectable than the historical ones. They are largely influencers, partaking in something I've seen referred to as based signaling. It's essentially the right-wing version of virtue signaling. Richard Anania wrote a scathing article last year called The Based Ritual, in which he plays out a fictional but on-the-nose conversation between right-wing political types at a Capitol Hill bar, who are repeatedly trying to one-up each other in how transgressive, cynical, and ideologically provocative they can sound, using increasingly extreme takes as a form of in-group status competition rather than genuine argument or any substantial belief. Now, while it's not a one-to-one comparison to Richard's article, the practice of based signaling is something I understand very well. Why? Well, of course I know her. She is me. Take a look at Exhibit A here. Look at that sick Deus Vault sweater. Look how incredibly based I am. Forget about a tiny cross necklace. In fact, forget about going to church at all. Instead, I'm gonna wear a giant sweatshirt with a Jerusalem cross and post it on social media. Do you get it? Because that's what the Crusaders wore, and they had swords and they killed their enemies. And I'm gonna Slav squat because that's a popular meme at the time. Please give me a crumb of internet attention. Give me a crumb of likes. One thing I can assure you...
I wonder what year those were posted, because those selfies look like very old. Maybe like 2015, 2016 or something. Like, they look pretty old.
Is that God was not considered or involved at any point in the process of making this image. I am signaling to the people in my peer group at the time that I am just so cool. So cool. I mean, look at this. I used to wear this to protests. What is going on here? What in the heresy is happening? Just embarrassing behavior. And don't get me wrong, you know, to this day, I'm not above sitting in bed and liking a based King Baldwin meme. Those epic Save the West edits, it's all very intoxicating.
I will say some of these edits are very intoxicating. And also, some of them can just go so hard. I can't even lie. Like, especially some of, like, the Jesus edits, where they have, like, the chosen clips and things like that. I can't even lie. Some of the edits do go pretty hard.
I get it. It tickles the dopamine receptors, but the based internet Christian stuff has absolutely nothing to do with the soul or any sort of real spiritual journey. And pretending it does is bad. It's not good. In fact, I think it's the culprit for a good portion of people who seemingly crowdsource their religious beliefs, which then become indistinguishable from their political aims. Like when I see this video that says, "How far right are you?" And then this guy just posts clips of Crusaders and Christians praying, I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? Which Crusades do you support? Do you know anything about them? I'm pretty sure the fourth one sacked Constantinople, a Christian city, looted churches, and killed fellow Christians. Excuse my language, but is everyone just now?
It reminds me a little bit, and I will be the first to say, and I'm not going to speak a lot on it because I'm honestly not that educated about the Crusades, but I will say, like, people who use the phrase, like, if God wills it, all those things, useful or whatever, they'll say it to, like, sometimes I feel like people say it online to justify, like, anything, like, including things that are clearly, like, sinful. And it's like, yeah, if God wills it, well, God gives us free will. Like, we're able to do things that are sinful. So I feel like that alone is not a good justification for something. Like, well, if God wills it, if God lets it happen, if God wills it, it's kind of like, okay, but God allows us to have free will, and we can do a lot of bad things and then try to justify it by saying, well, God willed it. God willed it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that everything you do is, like, acceptable because of that, but
someone could just as easily make a clip with, like, how far left are your views? And then based edit of Jesus washing people's feet. I have friends of mine who I know never grew up Christian, who don't attend church, who haven't ever read the Bible, who began putting crosses in their Twitter bios because they joined the political right. It's like a video game badge or something.
And that's just sad, though. Like, the thought of someone putting a cross in their bio when they don't even actually care about God. And, like, you know what happens. Like, and that's... I mean, I just have to hope that, you know, maybe somehow God will work through them in their LARP to actually bring them to Christ, you know? But, like, maybe that's how it might start out for some people, and then maybe it might get real eventually. But, yeah, LARPing as a Christian just because you're, like, on the political right is just not good. obviously. No one should like it if someone just like LARPs as your religion if they don't actually believe in it.
Something. And I love Crusader Kings, okay? Great game, played a lot of it growing up, but holy LARP, what are we doing here? The anti-Catholic Tennessee congressman uses Catholic crusaders to argue for evangelical Protestant nationalism. I can't even begin to get into the denominational wars in this video, but why are politicians acting like this is Christian Comic-Con? I fear I have helped unleash levels of cringe into the world that I simply cannot undo. I have become cringe, the destroyer of movements. These people want all the clout of Christian signaling without any of the substance. As did I, but at least I was 20 and not an elected official at the peak of my doing this. Based signaling explains a lot. Why you'll see tons of political accounts using biblical references when they're talking about waging war or striking down sinners, who always happen to be political opponents and never themselves, by the way. But you'll never once see them reference, like, I don't know, the Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the merciful.
I was just reading those last night. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the peacekeepers. That's a really nice read. Don't hide your light under the, what is it, the lamp. We don't put it under the bushel, whatever thing, the basket. Let it shine. Let your light shine, chat.
Blessed are the peacemakers, because it is politics first and religion as a tool. And when I say tool, I mean quite literally a tool. In fact, in August of last year, Nikita Beer, the head of product at X, tweeted out that the most common bot bio is Christian, father, love my country. So when I'm building up my argument in this video that a lot of people partaking in this based signaling are not Christians, I'm not even just saying they aren't Christians. Some of these posters, in fact, seemingly a majority of them, aren't even people at all. They're literally bots.
They're bots.
It all comes full circle back to Captain Bible.
That's crazy.
We're fighting demon robots out here, and it is 64-year-old Bob who volunteers at the Salvation Army every Saturday getting the bad rap for it. Look.
That's so real. The thing that really drives me crazy is that these guys will call those things toxic empathy. Yeah, I mean, there's like, obviously things are more nuanced, you know, like depending on specific topics and stuff. Like, obviously, like, God is a God of mercy. He's also a God of justice. And both are important. But sometimes it feels like some people think, and she's going to get into this a little more, some people I feel like think that like the mercy part is like weak. Like the mercy part, the forgiveness part, and I've talked about this before, like I was speaking to someone, this was a couple months ago now, but I mentioned this before. I was speaking to another content creator. They're a pretty decent sized content creator. A lot of you guys probably know who they are. I'm not going to say who they are, obviously, but we were talking about religion a little bit, and they had mentioned, you know, they themselves weren't really Christian, but they thought Christian values were good for society. But they said, but not forgiveness. They said Christians look weak when they are being forgiving, and that forgiveness is bad, that Christians shouldn't forgive, and that they should hold grudges and all these things. And I was like, and respectfully, you know, the person isn't a Christian themselves, so they probably don't fully understand. You can't pick and choose with Christianity. You don't get to say, I'm going to be a Christian, but I'm not going to forgive. Like, God calls us to be forgiving. Does that mean that you say that everything that happened was good? Or that, like, it's justifiable, or that people can't be punished for the things they do wrong? Like, if someone commits a crime, like, there is punishment. But yeah, like, the entire premise of Christianity is forgiveness of our sins. If we all got what was just, we would all be in hell. We would all end up in hell. If we got what was just, if there was no mercy, if Christ had not died for us, if we were getting what we deserved, it certainly wouldn't be forgiveness in heaven. That's not what it would be. But it's because Christ loves us so much that he did what he did for us. He took the punishment for us. We didn't deserve that. He did not deserve that. The one person who didn't deserve what he got was Jesus on the cross. Like, I don't think we fully understand exactly what he went through. Like, it's like, I mean, you don't even want to understand fully, right? Like, to even think about it is, like, crazy. The person who didn't deserve it was him. He lived a perfect life. And yet, he did what he did because he loved us that much. That's what we deserve. And I just feel like people don't, but like when you're not Christian, you don't fully understand that, I guess. And so they look at it and they see mercy as weak. They see forgiveness as weak. They see love as weak. And it's like, it's just hard. It's hard to try and, it's hard to try and like explain that to someone who just doesn't fully grasp that part of it. You know what I mean? But you're going to hear Lauren talk a bit more about that as well.
Look at this post. It has 31,000 likes talking about how guys with the bio, husband, follower of Christ, girl dad, are out here tweeting some of the most offensive things you've ever seen. Just absolutely horrific stuff. Not good. But you know what? There are some real faces and names out here who are trying to claim or make it appear as though this is the real Christian tradition. Some who even claim to be pastors, who seem far more interested in the base ritual than the Beatitudes. Let's take a quick look at them. Part of why I made this video is that for a long time, I honestly assumed that the nastier corners of online Christian content would stay where they usually live, buried in algorithmic side alleyways, just shouting at each other, mostly invisible to normal people. Then the other day, I saw that one of the people I think represents this modern pharisaical version of Christianity most clearly had been hosted on the Joe Rogan Experience, which is, for better or worse, probably one of the most influential podcast platforms in the world. And at that point, I kind of thought to myself, all right, I really shouldn't just sit here in my little walled garden pretending that all of this corrects itself eventually, because this stuff is just not staying niche anymore. It's going mainstream somehow. If you don't know who Andrew Wilson is, he originally operated in the old blood sports Twitch debate world under the name Big Papa Fascist. He has since rebranded, but still runs a show called The Crucible. And in a religious context, that is a wild title to choose. In Christian language, a crucible is a severe trial, a fire that purifies the character. So if you are branding your platform as essentially God's forge for moral purification, you are making an enormous claim. And quite frankly, if you are going to market yourself like that, you should probably represent God well. Which, when it comes to Andrew Wilson, I'll leave that up to you guys to decide.
Me, I'm a Christian. My entire ethical worldview comes and is sealed, right? It's monolithically sealed.
And as I said at the beginning of this video, I don't think I represent Christianity well. But the difference is, I'm not calling myself a crucible for God while coming across like a Pharisee so aggressively on the nose that I think even an atheist screenwriter making satire would be told to tone it down.
But Charlie, I just think honestly, you're too fucking stupid to understand them. Oh, I'm sorry, Dyke. Is she morally inconsequential in comparison to your ditch licking?
They bring nothing to the table, none of them, including the old bags here, who bring nothing to the table by their own admission except their pussy. And that, to me, is why, and when asked, this is all you get. I bring love and affection. You don't bring shit to the table. Good. What do you bring to the table besides your vagina? Give me a real example. If you want a man to take care of you for the rest of your life, what do you bring to the table except your vagina and a bunch of baggage?
First of all, I gotta be honest.
And so, listen, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that Andrew is not a Christian. I'm not even going to say that a lot of his points are not fair. I think a lot of his arguments that I have seen, I don't watch a lot of Andrew, but the arguments I have seen, I have understood some of his points. And again, it's not to tone police. I don't like it when people say I'm just tone policing. I don't think that's how you should speak to someone whenever you're trying to, I don't know if you can consider what he's doing sharing the gospel. I mean, I'm assuming at times he tries to share the gospel. And again, no one's perfect, you know, everyone crashes out sometimes, I guess, like, you know, we all make mistakes, but it's a very consistent behavior of his that he clearly is okay with, and he sees nothing wrong with how he speaks to people. And again, I'm not saying that his message is always wrong. I seriously question if the way he is speaking is the best way to get your point across to people, to make them want to hear you out and to make them consider following Christ. It comes across really disrespectful. I mean, it is disrespectful, and I understand too, like the one girl said to him, like, and Lauren's about to mention it, she brought up his wife, and I understand that's clearly a touchy subject, and it is. She's also a public figure, you know, they do all this stuff together, and it is true that she has had, I think this is her third marriage, and she has children from her other marriages. However, you know, I think that it would be ideal if Andrew was able to use that moment and, like Lauren's about to say, be a witness instead of reacting the way he did. And again, I understand nobody's perfect. You know, people get under his skin sometimes, but at the same time, he is a grown man. We are responsible for the things we say. And I just feel like just some of the things he says, like talking about specifically like some of the vulgar words about, I won't even repeat those words about the women and what they bring to the table. It's just, I don't see any of those women leaving there being like, wow, he really spoke to my heart and I feel convicted. I feel like the women are going to leave that table and they're going to be like, wow, that guy sucks. And Christians are awful. You see what I'm saying? But, yeah.
I gotta be honest, I don't know who is still out here listening to this kind of content in the year 2026. I remember that viral meme from years ago, mocking Vice for being so predictably edgy in their content strategy. It seemed like they selected headlines by just getting a dude to throw a dildo at a wall to pick a drug country and a minority, and bam, there's their story. These modern manosphere podcasters feel no different. It's the same predictable combination of slop every time. But it's also kind of hilarious once you see it for what it is.
With Andrew, it's not like he's trying to be an evangelist. Most of the time, I think it's disingenuous if she implies he is on the Whatever podcast. I don't think she necessarily implied that. I guess for me, I just assume, like, whenever you are someone who says that you're a Christian and you are speaking with people who are not Christians and you're talking about God, I would assume that you are evangelizing, at least to a certain degree. Like, you're speaking about God. Ideally, I mean, we are called to make disciples. Like, you're wanting these people to repent, right? Like, otherwise, why are you speaking with them? Why are you talking to these girls from a Christian viewpoint if you don't want them to repent of their sins and to, like, become Christians? You know what I mean? Like, why would you not want that? And I understand a lot of those girls are there to advertise their OnlyFans, but that doesn't change the point of that.
The second you see a cigar and a podcast mic on screen, you know you are about to hear some of the dumbest shit of your life.
How do you make $50,000 a month? You haven't told me anything.
Wake up at 3 a.m.
Okay, Go to sleep at 7 p.m.
Got it. Now, what do you do in between 3 a.m. and 7 p.m.?
Hard work. Eat the spaghetti. Eat the meatballs. Eat the broccoli.
What?
Don't get distracted with candy and ice cream.
How does that generate income?
But anyways, back to Andrew Wilson. Being predictable manosphere slop, well, annoying, is honestly not my main problem with his content. I think this clip here captures one of my biggest issues.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
And you
you
lick sniz.
Under your religion.
You lick sniz.
What does that
You're a
mean?
fucking dyke. Don't talk shit about my wife, you stupid bitch. Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your stupid bitch mouth.
Your wife with the 3 baby
What did I
daddies?
just say? Dyke?
Your wife with the 3
Sorry,
baby
I'm sorry,
daddies?
Dyke. Is she morally inconsequential in comparison to your ditch licking?
I'm not even going to criticize the rage part.
Yeah, I just, and she's gonna get into the witness thing in a second, which I do see her take there. And I get some people are saying most of what I see Andrew is political arguments, not religious. But my thing is, you're known as his thing is literally called the Crucible, right? He is known as a Christian man. He identifies as like Orthodox, like that's like first and foremost. So like you can make political arguments, but at the end of the day, you are still a Christian public figure. And I understand he was being antagonized. I get it. I do understand. But still, it was disgusting what he said. Like, can we not at least agree that like what he said is disgusting to say those things, like specifically? It's like so like perverted and gross to even like I don't know. I just think that's gross. Like I don't think it's something that we should justify. Like, you can say, yeah, he was being, pushed. I get it. But it still doesn't make what he said good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Daniel, thank you for the 5. Andrew does not argue theology. Lauren hates Andrew because he destroyed her friend Destiny. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not familiar with Lauren as a person. I'm just watching this video for what it is. And personally, I don't hate Andrew. I just have a really big problem with how he speaks at times and some of the things that he says. That's it. Again, like I've said, some of his arguments, I understand where he's coming from. But, yeah. I think the problem with critiquing that moment from the Whatever podcast no one talks about when the girl told Rachel she would have been better off aborting her children, I mean, that's disgusting. I haven't seen that clip. And to be fair, these are clips that I'm reacting to. I haven't watched that podcast in full. It's not really something that I would typically want to watch, honestly, but like if I saw that clip, I would also say that's disgusting. Obviously, I'm a very pro-life person, but yeah. Gross isn't a religious abomination. I never said anything was an abomination. I just said it's gross. I don't think it's good. But yeah, obviously I think that, well, let's hear what Lauren has to say in a second because I think she makes a decent point right here.
That aside, the shocking thing to me is what seems to actually trigger his outburst, because what visibly bothers Andrew is that someone brings up the fact that his wife had children with 3 different men, and he appears deeply humiliated by that fact. And this is why it's bizarre. Him marrying his wife, despite her past, and taking her children from previous relationships under his wing, within a Christian moral framework, which he claims to subscribe to, should not be a source of shame. In fact, that is arguably one of the most honorable things about his life. A man choosing to love, protect, and provide for children who are not biologically his, even knowing many people will judge him for it, is, in Christian terms, profoundly respectable. The Bible calls endlessly for people to care for the vulnerable, women, and fatherless children, and he had the perfect opportunity there to explain all of this to the lady confronting him. He could have been an incredible witness to her in that moment, but instead he instantly collapsed into insult. And I think the reason is pretty obvious to anyone watching this. Wilson has built a version of Christianity where mercy and redemption no longer feel masculine enough to defend, because the audience he has cultivated does not reward mercy. They reward
defending your lady is being humiliated, but how is how is it just defending to immediately like go into insult? How is that the same as defending your lady? Would it not also be defending to do what she just suggested? To witness to the girl? Do you think that would have maybe also been more productive? Like honestly, do you think his response to that girl was more productive than him witnessing to her in this way? He tried to stop her, but she wouldn't, and he snapped. I mean, again, I only saw the clip. However, I feel like she has a point here. I feel like she has a point to say, you know, it is a very honorable thing to do what he has done, and to take, you know, children that are not biologically yours under your wing, and to raise them and to treat them as your own. And that's something that I feel like personally for me, it's kind of like a touchy subject, because I have been very open about the fact that my dad passed away when I was a baby. I've had many stepdads along the way. My mom has been married and divorced many times. It's one of the biggest reasons, even beyond like when I became religious, like why I've always hated divorce. It has really affected my life. And you know, I had a couple of stepdads here and there who did step up, but then some who didn't, and then some who, you know, they get divorced and it's like I never existed, even though I grew up thinking one of them was my dad, you know, when I was a kid, because I was so little I didn't even know my dad passed away until my mom got a divorce from the guy who actually wasn't my dad. He was my brother's dad. So it's like, you know what I mean? I just feel like it's a very honorable thing for a man to do what he's doing, and it would have been a good opportunity for him to witness that to her, and I think it would have been a more productive conversation instead of just essentially crashing out and insulting the girl. And again, I get no one's perfect. Nobody's perfect. However, you can admit that maybe that wasn't the best way to go about the conversation. Maybe it wasn't the most productive way to go about the conversation. She does have a point. Andrew gets extremely toxic and nasty when his buttons are pushed. He can still say what he said in a more conservative way. Again, who am I to tell someone how to speak? I just think, like, again, it's not about, like, tone policing someone. I'm not saying that your argument is automatically, like, not valid because you said it in kind of a rude way, right? But I still think that at times there can be a better, more constructive, and just like being able to speak in a way that produces a better end result. I just don't think that that was a very productive conversation. I don't think either of those people left that conversation, and like it goes both ways, but I just don't think that was a very productive conversation. Yeah. Daniel with the 5, love you, Rev. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're not tone policing, Strawb. You are right. I had people on Twitter telling me I was tone policing whenever I commented about Andrew earlier. I wouldn't call Andrew a Pharisee because he doesn't have a holier-than-thou attitude. He definitely is a rageaholic. I mean, I'm not calling him a Pharisee. I just have issue with some of the ways he talks. But, that's all. It's the approach, and if that's likely to end up constructive. It was never with that woman, though. She was never going to change her mind on anything. I just feel like if you approach a conversation with the concept that the other person is never going to change their mind, I feel like it's just a bad way to approach a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a bad way to approach it. If you're approaching a conversation with someone, assuming that they're never going to hear you out, and that very well might be the case, I just think it's a bad way to approach it, though. Yeah, you could say it's bad faith. But yeah, I mean, these are people obviously calling his wife a whore, which I think is disgusting. And this probably does get under Andrew's skin, as it should. Or, I mean, I would hope it wouldn't. You wouldn't want it to get under his skin, but I'm sure it does, right? Like, nobody wants their wife to be called these things. It's not very kind. But yeah, so I'm sure it's probably a very sensitive subject for him.
Domination, humiliation, and cruelty. They are more focused on condemning the women on these podcasts for not following the letter of the law than showing the love the laws were made to protect. It's all based signaling and no beatitudes, which means the very values that should be his strongest moral ground become liabilities in front of his own followers. Because to that audience, taking responsibility for a family like his risks being read as weakness, as being a cuck or simping or whatever vocabulary masculinity cosplay has.
And I'm not exactly sure that's why he said what he said. This is definitely a consideration, maybe. And I do think she has a point that there are people in his audience that would react that way. But I'm not saying that's necessarily why he said what he said. He could have just said it because he was angry and upset, and he just wanted to say it to her. I don't know if there was a deeper reason than that, but
happens to be using that week. And I do mean cosplay, because I don't want to slander real masculinity with whatever this online performance art has become. In a now deleted tweet from late last year referencing migrant crime and rape against women, Wilson said, "They voted for it. Help us, men, help us. No." And he's essentially arguing that women overwhelmingly vote liberal, so if anything bad happens to them, it's their fault and we have no duty to defend them. Another account responded, "Women, brother, father, help me. You, nah, you asked for it. Get raped. You really are a piece of shit." To which Andrew responds, "You heard me, bitch. Reap as you sow."
I don't know. Again, the arguments of like, yes, do women sometimes vote, or oftentimes vote in certain ways that can cause, I guess, like harm. Like people could argue like certain policies can cause harm because of like what people would refer to as suicidal empathy. I can see that. However, I still feel like for someone to say like, oh, well, you reap what you sow. So I don't even care that you get like, I don't even want to say it. It's just, it honestly like really bothers me. I just don't get it. Women did vote that way. Andrew is being nasty. Now what about the obligation to each other? What do you mean? Could use the word attacked, yeah. Getting attacked. Violated. Just very, I don't know. I mean, again, not to be, because I say all of this, like, I try to preface, like, I'm not perfect, right? And I don't want to sit here and act like I am. But we are called to be Christ-like, to be like Jesus, to try and be like Jesus. Of course, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be just like Jesus. I say things that are mean sometimes. We all say things that are mean sometimes. But at the same time, even if we do say things that are mean, we can still acknowledge like when we did something wrong. You know what I mean? And so for me, I think, would Jesus say this? You know, like what would Jesus do? I was literally going to say that. Like the phrase, what would Jesus do? WWJD. Would Jesus say this? Would he say this? You heard me, B, reap as you sow. Do you honestly think Jesus would say this? But yeah, that's just my main takeaway for this is like, I just think we should strive to be more like Christ, and I think if Christ wouldn't say it, it's probably not something that we should say. And I think you can make your argument that, if your argument is a good amount of women vote for things that hurt them, and they expect people to save them, you can make that argument. But at the same time, You don't have to say this.
And I don't think I have ever seen a message portrayed that is more quintessentially anti-Christian in my life. The whole concept of the faith, the whole point of it, is that Christ died on the cross, so thankfully, Andrew, you and I have the potential to not reap what we sow. And in exchange, he asks that we try just a little bit, just a bit to be like him, and have some humility in the process. Instead, what we see here is Andrew Wilson loudly advocating the exact opposite of this message while claiming to be a crucible that purifies the faith. And in doing so, seemingly reaps what he's sown and having to be ashamed of his family. And Andrew isn't the only one trying to cultivate this sort of based signaling Christian audience with a public profile. There's a whole sort of community online of these people who have ridden the coattails of the manosphere world in becoming eternal course-selling podcasters, but use God as their main branding. I first came across alleged pastor Joel Webbin because one of his based signaling tweets that went semi-viral. Young men are waking.
Someone said, F no, I won't save them. They made their bed, now lie in it. By them, do you mean all women? How do you, and what do you mean by save them? So if you saw a woman being attacked, essayed on the side of the road, you wouldn't do anything about it? You wouldn't even call the police? Like, I mean, explain what you mean. You wouldn't care? You wouldn't care. Even if, let's say, someone was, people like to use the word suicidal empathy or whatever, right? Let's say someone was like that. They have good intentions, they really do, but they're being stupid, you know? Like, you think they're just being naive. And they're voting for things and they're doing things that, you know, you think it's good, but it's not really helping you in the long run. And then that person gets essayed and now it's like, you deserve it, and you don't care. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
Up. Women will learn to have a quiet and gentle spirit, or they will learn to be alone. Deus vult. It's so cringe. You simply cannot tell me that this tweet, young women are waking up, men will learn to...
Hold on. I'll be right back. Sorry. I have to deal with something. I'm like bleeding and I don't know why. Like on my face. And I'm kind of like, what on earth? I think I popped something. Hold on 1 second. That was weird, sorry. I had like a pimple patch thing on, and I like took it off because it was like coming off. And when it was like bleeding, but like, I don't know, it didn't even look like it was bleeding when I went to the bathroom. I'm okay, don't worry. It was just like a little like pimple thing, but like, it's just weird though, because like, I went to the bathroom and there was like nothing. I don't know. Daniel with the 5, I believe that if you saw his stream, it would alter your perception of him entirely. Oh, I'm sure. Like, I'm all for believing that people, like, I think when you get to know someone more, it also humanizes them more. One-on-one, he might be, like, a great guy. I don't know. You know, he might be, I'm sure he could probably be very sweet. I think that can be the case with a lot of people. I also think, like, some people, like, are just extra, not saying that he's not himself, because I don't know, but I do think some people can be more, like, aggressive online. And I don't know if it's because they're trying to be. They just feel more comfortable. I'm not really sure. But, I mean, and again, like, I don't hate Andrew. I don't hate him. I don't think that all of his takes are bad by any means. I just have issue with how he conducts himself at times. Like, I don't think it's always the best. Or the most productive, I guess is a good way to describe it as well. But, you know, nobody's perfect by any means. I'm certainly not, so I keep pausing at just the best parts.
Stop being incels, or they will learn to be alone. Do better. Is not exactly the same as what Joel Webben tweeted. It's just gender war gobbledygook with virtue or based signaling at the end. Do better. Men are trash. Educate yourself. Deus Vult.
So not the message, but how it's communicated. I mean, sometimes it can be the message, I guess, too. Like, when you're telling a woman that all she has to bring to the table is X, Y, or Z. Like, I guess that is part of the message. But, you know, and again, I don't watch him a ton, so I can't sit here and say, like, I agree with a lot of his things. I will say, like, I have seen certain things that he said that I'm like, oh, I could see that. Like, that makes sense. Or, like, I will say some things he has said has made me think more. Like, I'll be honest and say that. I don't think that he has, like, all terrible takes. Like, I think he makes good points at times from what I have seen. But, yeah, I do think definitely sometimes how it's communicated could be more productive if it was communicated a little differently. Because also I think, like, you can get a lot of views on something and you can have a lot of people like it, but, like, sometimes a lot of those people are from your side and maybe you're not actually reaching people from the other side that you might want to reach because they're not even willing to hear you out because you're scaring them off by being super aggressive. Do you get what I'm saying? That's just my thoughts.
It's the same little end tagline to tell your audience, I'm morally superior. In the progressive field, you look at something like educate yourself, and it's this moral signaling of higher intelligence. With Webben, I'd argue it's almost worse, because it's my gender war slop posting for clicks is ordained by God. Deus Vult. This is a common behavior for Webben, though, who was, for whatever reason, attending CPAC a few weeks ago, in which he tweeted, my biggest takeaway from CPAC, the youth are ours. We were recognized everywhere. Staffers, media, college group presidents, influencers, and political candidates. Everyone who loved us was under 40 and completely aligned on the big issues. The next generation won't support Israel. They are done with egalitarianism. They are not race blind. Even women we talked to agreed women probably shouldn't vote. Time's up. And Joel, I just have one question for you. Just one question. Why are none of your big issues Jesus? It's already weird that a pastor is attending CPAC as a political act.
Is he really a pastor? I mean, I'm just not familiar with this guy. But I will say, I don't really see anything inherently wrong with his post. However, I do think it's like, it is relevant. Like, if you are a pastor, you would think maybe Jesus would be mentioned more, but also, like, it could be kind of seen as, like, nitpicky to, like, to say he didn't talk about it in this one post. But then again, he is a pastor. He's not just a regular person. I don't know. I think Jesus, I think if you're a pastor, you probably should have your main points be about Christ. I'm not familiar with that guy at all. I don't know. Is he like an actual pastor? That's a fair take. Thanks, Daniel, for the 2. Which take are you talking about? Sorry, I feel like there's so much going on. Communication is key if you want people to come to Christ or just to understand what you're saying. I stunk at evangelizing to my friends and put a distance between my friends and Christ. I'm sorry. I definitely think communication is key for sure for evangelizing. And I understand some people are saying, you know, not all these people are attempting to evangelize. I also think, like, we should be attempting to evangelize. We should be talking about the gospel. I'm not saying we have to talk about it every single time we talk about Christ or every single time we, like, open our mouths, obviously. But, I mean, I think we all should be evangelizing to a certain extent. Like, we're called to make disciples. And, you know, that can look very different in different people, right? Like, not everything is the same in terms of like how one person might be led to share things, you know, in a different way than someone else. And it could just literally look like, you know, you letting your light shine and just being a happy person, and people can see you're like glowing, you're so happy. And then maybe someone would ask you like, oh, you know, like, why are you so happy? Like, I don't know, like it could be anything, you know, just the way you live. That could be it for sure. I don't expect everything a pastor post has to mention Christ. No, I don't think so either. Which is why I'm kind of like, I feel like this is kind of a nitpicky topic that she brought up. I don't know. I do think that, like, I don't know if it was his big takeaway from it, maybe, but I'm not like super upset about that, honestly. You're a VTuber, so your main point should be on how YouTube affects the world. I don't think that's like a fair comparison, talking about you're a VTuber, so your main point should be about how YouTube affects the world versus like you're a pastor, so your main focus should be on Christ. I think those are two very different topics that you're bringing up. Daniel, thank you for the 2. Your explanation on Andrew Wilson. Oh, well, I appreciate that. I don't think people deserve SA. I also believe that we're not obligated to save them. I mean, the word obligated is a really strong word. And also the word save. Like, what does it really mean, you know? Like, are you interjecting and, like, potentially, you know, causing yourself or even, you know, your loved ones harm? Are you just, like, calling the police? Are you, you know, I feel like that's different. But yeah, the Good Samaritan, that's a good point, you know, like, you might not be obligated necessarily, but maybe should you? Would it be, like, a good thing to do? I don't know. I think it might depend on the situation. And, like, even, I don't know. It might depend on, like, you know, your own safety as well. But, like, you could do something, you know? Even if you just, like, called the police, you could do something. Something to consider.
Activist, but to go there and say your big issue is to be done with women voting, this is the right-wing version of defund the police. The police are not going anywhere unless the state collapses. You guys are all LARPing.
Now is time for the final battle.
This clip is funny.
Magic missile! Magic missile!
Missile!
Magic missile! Magic missile!
Ending women voting is just another plot line of the culture war cinematic universe. And it is kind of cute when Zoomers are running around dressed up like Marvel characters pretending to blast laser beams at each other. But when pastors in their 40s and 50s are doing it, what are we even doing here, man? Forgive me for saying something that may be a little controversial, but whether it be politicians or pastors, my hope is that they are better people than me. And yes, I do think they should be held to a higher standard than the average person if you are claiming to be a leader for God. But I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that is biblical, that pastors are held to higher standards than, like, just an average Christian. It makes sense to me if you're, like, an actual pastor.
don't think these people are really looking to court a Christian community at all. In fact, when I went down the Joel Webbin rabbit hole, it led me all the way to a place where I learned from Webbin himself that apparently Christians are actually just fake and gay.
What do you see as the greatest threat to Christian nationalism as it's trying to make its roots?
Christians.
How so?
Christians are gay. Fake and gay.
Okay, I feel like this was a joke. He had to have been memeing, right? You don't say something is fake and gay if you're not, like, memeing a little bit. Like, I don't know, Strawb, we never thought we would be aborting babies en masse, but here we are. But think about when Roe versus Wade was established. Like, to be honest, abortion has been normalized for, like, a long time, and I feel like we don't think about it, although it definitely, I feel like, is more, like, for a long time, people would say, like, they wanted it, like, safe, legal, and rare, which I still think is bad. I think all abortion should be illegal, but it is interesting to think about how, like, it has been around for so long, and, like, so many, it really genuinely boggles my mind how many people, including how many older people, are completely fine with it, don't care. And maybe it's because I did grow up in the Deep South, because growing up, pretty much every, like, older person around me were very Christian. I grew up in the Bible Belt, so, you know, even if it was, like, more of a cultural thing, but they all were very, like, conservative, and definitely thought abortion was wrong. Like, growing up, like, that was the norm for the adults around me, was that everyone thought that abortion was bad. But, like, you see people, like, it's just not the same in big cities and in places that are not, like, the Bible Belt. There's a lot of people, including a lot of older people, that don't care about it at all. And it's like, people don't even, like, I don't know if it's just been so normalized that people can't see it for what it really is, or if people choose, like, purposefully choose to pretend that they don't know what it actually is. I really don't know, but it's so incredibly obvious that it's murder, and it's a very terrifying thing to think about, that literal baby murder is so popular, and people don't think about it. Does one's peers and family influence their beliefs? I'm sure, yeah, of course. But, like, for me, you know, when I was younger and I wasn't religious, I would always say, like, I would never have an abortion. I would never do that. But I would say, like, but, you know, women should have the right to choose. And that was because, like, that was what I was always told was, like, how you should believe, right? If you're going to be a good person, you have to believe in, like, all these things. And especially when I was in college, and, like, I've told you guys, I've taken, like, women's studies classes in college, and, like, I had an education degree. It was a very liberal, even though my school itself wasn't super, super liberal. I mean, colleges are just kind of liberal in general, especially nowadays, but it wasn't, like, the most liberal college you could have ever went to, but my education program specifically was a very liberal education program, and those things were just pushed on me, and I was young, and I was impressionable, and I was like, yeah, but it's like I knew it was wrong, because, like, I was like, I would never do that. I would never have an abortion. Absolutely not. Never. But it's like, why would I never have one if I think it's, like, not a big deal? You know what I mean? It's like a cognitive dissonance or something. I don't know. People don't want to admit what it is because the reality is so disgustingly terrifying. They can't even, you don't even want to admit what you're doing, what people are doing.
To be more precise.
Webbin tried to defend this by saying fake equals hypocrite, gay equals effeminate. Yes, the church is plagued by religious hypocrites, fake, and cowardly, effeminate, gay men. But why did you say it that way? Because I knew it would offend, and the offense ensures that my point wasn't missed. A very astute poster noted, Webben, that's not...
Yeah, I think this is a valid point to make. It's not how it works. Prioritizing causing offense over being clear does the exact opposite of making sure people don't miss your point. I get what he's saying. I feel like it was kind of just a meme. Like, I feel like people don't say fake and gay if you're not memeing at all. Like, you have to be trying to be a little funny, I feel like. Is it just me? Like, I feel like if you say something is fake and gay, like, you're trying to be a little silly about it. Maybe you're still making a point, but, like, you don't just say the words fake and gay without, like, expecting a laugh. But, or I guess for some people would be offended. But, yeah, I don't know. I think this person makes a decent point, though.
Not how it works. Prioritizing causing offense over being clear does the exact opposite of making sure people don't miss your point. To be fair, it took me a long time to learn that one myself, but I got there eventually.
Yeah, we're real and straight around these parts, chat. Not fake and gay. We're real and straight.
This clip was part of a documentary on Christian nationalism Webben was working on. And apparently, after getting some, how do you put it, pushback on this clip, they deleted the entire trailer it was a part of, to which Twitter user Will Spencer criticized this move as being damage control. His statement would have been far more powerful if he had simply said, Christians are hypocritical and effeminate. But hypocritical and effeminate are concrete words that imply an objective standard, one that he himself could be held to. By contrast, fake and gay are insults, which is why Joel wasn't making helpful observations about ways Christians could change and grow in manliness and integrity. He was insulting them from an assumed position of superiority. And I think this is a solid analysis.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, that might be giving him a little more credit than he even needs. I don't know that him saying it was fake and gay was this deep. Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe this is, but I don't know. I do, however, think that it would have been a more powerful and just like easier to understand statement, I guess, if he had said that they're hypocritical and effeminate. Just because people were probably confused, like, what does he mean they're fake and gay? Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know if it was like, I don't know if this is really the reason why he did it, but I do think that we could say that that statement would have been more powerful and effective. So, some messages are getting zapped. I'm not deleting anything. Looks like someone else deleted, they retracted their own message. I don't really delete messages unless it's just like straight up really, really bad. Or like,
superiority.
Yeah.
And I think this is a solid analysis, but I sort of disagree with the idea that the post was deleted because Webben was afraid of having an objective standard he could be held to. I actually think that's giving him way too much credit.
I swear I didn't even watch this part of the thing. I didn't even get this far. I stopped like around like here when I watched it yesterday. Yeah, I was like, I feel like that's giving everyone too much credit. Like, I feel like it's not that deep.
I think it was deleted because people didn't like it. And the point of based signaling is to get updos. Give me positive attention and accolades. Right. Fake and gay is a based signaling term like Deus Vult. You say this to get your right-wing friends riled up, to get the people going. And the funniest part about it all to me is I know part of the reason that the online religious sphere, especially in based signaling circles, would call or criticize modern evangelicals and Protestants as being fake and gay is because they've let go of a lot of liturgical traditions in favor of modern things. If you've ever seen accounts like Pastors with Props on Reels or Woke Protestant Nonsense on X, it's just making fun of pastors for basically turning their churches into an NSYNC concert, getting overtly progressively political, or mocking youth pastors for including Zoomer memes like 6-7 in their sermon.
It says in verse 10, you will know that the living God is among us.
The living God is among us. Come on, he's a youth pastor. That's actually funny. That's funny. I mean, the kids, you know, they're kids. Come on now. That's funny. The other mega churches that turn it into concerts, not so much. This is just funny though.
But how is Webbin any different from this? How? A grown pastor using fake and gay in their vocabulary is...
I feel like it's different. I feel like, I mean, compared to like the Among Us thing, it's not a big deal. Okay.
The same cringe to me as using 6-7 or Among Us, only at least the pastor using the Among Us meme he's not trying to insult people for clicks. He's still keeping that intrinsic message of loving everyone intact while being a bit cringe. And I'm not sure that Webbin has fully integrated the idea that even right-wing people who use this vocabulary, they're pretty uncomfortable with the idea of their pastors partaking in the based ritual. It gives a bit of a hello fellow kids vibe. But more importantly, I don't think spiritual leaders should be trying to become characters fighting for a team in the culture war cinematic universe, as it is perhaps one of the most vulgar places to exist in the world. In fact, I quite literally and metaphorically think it may be hell. Yeah, hell.
That's a fair thought to have, I feel like.
Who among us has not been eaten by the beasts we once fed? I know I have, and while I mention Andrew Wilson avoiding talking about his wife's history to keep the beasts at bay, the truth is, even if he were a far humbler man, I understand why someone might hesitate. And not just because of bots or religious-based signalers looking for sinners to publicly stone, but because the online environment itself has become hostile to anything human. It has zero interest in forgiving perceived failure or, God forbid, cringe. All you have to do is look at the recent viral discourse on X around a man discussing his wife's promiscuous past. On March...
This did not end well for me. No, I gave my opinion on this, and boy did that ended me up on like a huge rabbit hole of all different kinds of things. People were not happy with me. Let's hear what she has to say though. I haven't watched any of this part.
March 23rd, Andrew Sheets posted a photo of himself and his wife and wrote that she had once lived promiscuously while he had been a virgin, and that she later became radically born again, committed deeply to church life, prayer, repentance, and then, after 5 years of being together, she had become an excellent wife. Now, I honestly can't tell you if this is rage bait or a PR stunt, given the guy owns
Definitely
a Christian online marketing firm. We help Sound Christian Ministries grow their social media by 50% in 3 months. 35.5 million views and trended for like 5 days. So yeah. I guess it works. Even if we give the ultimate charity here and assume this was done in the most sincere way possible, though, I probably wouldn't advise posting this sort of information to X. Why? Because X is hell. One of my favorite books of all time is The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, where hell is imagined as a place called Greytown. And Greytown is brilliant because nobody there quite admits they're in hell or really knows it. Everyone still thinks they're just temporarily inconvenienced in some kind of holding place purgatory. They can conjure houses, possessions, whatever they want at any point, but everything there is thin, joyless, and unsatisfying. And every conversation in Greytown is grievance-driven, self-justification, and moral posturing. Also, technically, people can leave Greytown at any moment. There is a bus to heaven there, but no one acknowledges the bus goes to heaven, and they don't fully understand where it goes, and most people are just too prideful to leave. They're like, no, I chose the right place to be, and it's here. And those who do get on the bus, when they finally get to heaven, they find the reality and solidity of it far too sharp. Like, the grass feels like razor blades under their feet, the light's way too bright, everything is too demanding and too real. And the whole point is that before they can exist comfortably in heaven, they have to become more substantial themselves. They have to grow in depth and density of soul, which is why it feels like such a perfect metaphor for X. Because reality is hard. And X offers a permanent alternative, a place where you can avoid the difficult work of becoming or doing anything substantial by endlessly performing the appearance of significance. You can moral
I'm gonna be honest, I'm lost. I'm lost on what she's talking about. But I was gonna say, because it's relevant. I don't know if she's gonna go back to the girl and her. Yeah, she's gonna keep talking about it. But I did give my take on it, and some people didn't like what I had to say. Some people did like what I had to say. People were calling her a whore and stuff. I saw people saying, like, once a whore, always a whore. Talking about how we should shame women, which, like, I get, like, there's a certain level of, like, societal shame that I do think is, like, I do think a certain level of shame in certain ways is healthy in terms of, like, we should not be encouraging certain behaviors. However, when someone has repented, and they have changed, I don't think it's, like, appropriate to be like, well, you're always gonna be a whore, and Christ might forgive you, but I don't forgive you for being a whore. That's not biblical at all. That's just not, like, that's not what the Bible says, that Christ forgives you, but we don't. I don't know if you guys say the prayer, Father in heaven, all the stuff, like, forgive me of my trespasses, and let me forgive those who trespass against us. Like, we're supposed to forgive people in order to be forgiven. It's a big part of Christianity. However, I basically had said, this was my hot take that got me, like, kind of canceled for a minute. I was just like, I'll just read you my tweet, basically. I said, all I was saying yesterday is that I do believe it's wrong and prideful to say that no self-respecting man would marry a woman who has been promiscuous. Whether just not a virgin, high body count, whatever, you name it. It's not that people can't have their own preferences. I made that clear yesterday. If somebody doesn't want to marry a non-virgin, that's 1,000% okay. But to call other men losers, simps, and not self-respecting over it is wrong. I do feel that way. Some people truly find their love in someone who has sinned in these ways in the past, and that is okay, and we shouldn't be judging these people so harshly for it. We should praise God for people who seem to have genuinely repented and want to live godly lives. Obviously, we don't know anyone's heart. I can't tell you if someone's genuinely repented. I can try and, like, see their fruit, see if they seem like they have, but I don't know. But, like, it's not really up to me. But anyways, I said I honestly don't know where people got the idea that I'm defending being promiscuous, because people were saying that by me having this take, I'm defending promiscuity. No, I'm not. I'm clearly not. I said, however, I do believe in the redeeming power of Christ. I do believe he can and does change and transform us. And I do think there's a pride problem in the Christian space. I do. I honestly think there's a big pride problem in the Christian space. You're free to disagree with me on things. People called me, for my take, for that take, people called me a whore. People said I must have been a whore in my past. And that I'm a whore now. I'm a stupid feminist. I'm a liberal. I don't think they're handling this conversation well. And also, I mentioned, I said, bringing up my past flirty girlfriend experience ASMR videos, because yes, if you're new here, I got my start by making girlfriend experience ASMR videos. They were not sex work videos, okay? They were on YouTube. They were monetized. They were flirty. And some of them were genuinely pretty wholesome. Some of them, I pushed my boundaries more and more as I went on. Those videos have all been deleted, and I repented, and I am forgiven of my sins. Christ forgives me. And I don't pretend to hide that. So it's like, it's not a gotcha when someone pulls up like an old deleted video of mine and says like, you did this. Yeah, I did do that. I don't do it anymore for a reason. But anyways, I said God does forgive. And then basically I just said all that I said, that's all that I said, along with the fact that if you can't handle a former OnlyFans girl or a girl who was promiscuous, whatever, finding God because you think she is just a whore for life, well, that's just not biblical. And if you ask literally any well-respected, biblically literate pastor or priest, he would tell you the same thing. And again, I'm not the one to decide if someone has truly repented. I don't know anyone's heart. However, to say that it can't happen and that once a whore, always a whore, you could never be forgiven, you could never be a Christian, that's wrong. It's just wrong. So, yeah, and also, because I saw this a lot too, to say it's convenient that an OnlyFans girl would find Christ, or that anyone who was promiscuous would find Christ after they did it for years just makes no sense to me. Like, I get someone saying, like, oh, it's really convenient, you know. However, honestly, all the flack you get, like, even for me, like, deleting my YouTube videos and nuking my Patreon, I had videos that had almost 1 million views on them. My Patreon, I was making thousands of dollars a month. My YouTube, I was making over $1,000 a month usually. Like, I was making thousands of dollars on my ASMR content, and I deleted it. And I guarantee you, it was not a financially positive decision for me, especially at the time. Like, praise God, people want to hear me do other things and come to my streams like this. But, like, I was very terrified to do it because I knew it was going to, you know, be a very big change. And a lot of people were upset. I had a lot of support, I will say. But I did have a lot of people that were upset with me. And people that, you know, they have never forgiven me for it, which, like, okay. But I don't do what I do to please people. I try to do what I do to please God. But, you know, I can testify for myself that God changes people. God convicts us and can change our hearts. And so if God can do it for me, why can't he do it for an OnlyFans girl? Why not? You think God isn't powerful enough to change someone like that? You think they're too far gone for God? I feel like that's limiting God. Like, you're not too far gone for God because of whatever sin you've done. As long as you genuinely come to him with repentance, like, you want to change and be better, like, you're not too far gone. Yeah, I said we don't know anyone's heart. That's not our place to say if someone's damned to hell. Calling people insincere for their faith, especially when they're a new convert and will certainly not be perfect, none of us will be on this earth, is something we should really think about before we're doing. I just urge everyone to use caution in these situations. So yeah, I don't know. That's basically what I said. But I was called a crazy, liberal, feminist, psychopath whore for that, which is interesting to say the least. Am I done with ASMR forever? I've made a couple ASMRs between then and now. I'm going to be honest, like, it's just not something my heart is, like, fully in right now. I've made a couple, like, you can see on my channel, like, there's a couple, like, Bible reading ones, and then I did post the one that was, like, baking muffins. Is very wholesome, but overall, it's just not something that I'm super focused on at this moment, so. And, like, yeah, I don't know. That's my take on the situation. You can think whatever you want about my take, but that is my take, so we'll continue on.
Posture all day, hit like and repost, call that activism, edit your photos instead of going to the gym, manufacture identities, block strangers, start arguments, win arguments, lose arguments, announce victories that no one's going to remember 12 hours later, all without ever logging off long enough to confront the stubborn difficulty of changing anything real. So on X, we all just wander Greytown, calling each other names all day. And for reasons known only to God and apparently engagement metrics, Andrew Sheets decided to walk into Greytown Town Square, grab a loudspeaker, and announce his wife's sexual history to a starving mob. Naturally, they began throwing tomatoes. And as someone who has been on the receiving end of my life becoming public theater countless times, often due to my own stupidity, I've just learned that enduring some degree of mockery is part of logging on. What you gonna do?
It's true.
But because this video is specifically about performative Christianity, what interested me most is that Sheets' post kind of became almost a perfect theological stress test, and a remarkable number of self-described Christians failed it, like, instantly. Because here's the thing, whether you find his post cringe or not, the theology is technically solid. You can criticize it for being self-aggrandizing, posted with the wrong intentions, etc., etc.
Yeah, because also he mentioned something about how his wife was more pure than a virgin or something, that, like, doesn't believe in God or something. I think, like, that was a... You don't need to say things like that, you know, like, why are we comparing purity of your wife wasn't a virgin? What are we talking about? She's more pure than a virgin. Like, you could definitely nitpick what he said, and you can definitely argue that it might not have been said in the most genuine way. But just the core concept of someone was promiscuous in their past, they repented, and now I love them and I'm married to them and we have a good, healthy life. And, you know, okay. I see nothing wrong with that. The core argument of it. You know what I mean? ASMR may also be disrespectful to Rev. He doesn't mind if it's like, I mean, to be honest, like, we've talked about it a lot. And when it comes to, like, the few ASMR that I have done since I deleted all my other ASMRs, they're, like, 100% wholesome. Like, he doesn't mind me doing ASMR. It's just that I don't really always feel like it. But yeah, not all ASMR is flirty and, like, sensual, I guess you could say. There are, like, you can look up Bible reading ASMR. I've made a little myself. I've watched some. And there's just, like, regular role plays. It's just, like, strictly wholesome, like, not flirty at all. But it really depends. I think it also depends on where your heart is, right? And your intentions. And just what you're doing.
But if you don't like the idea that someone who was sexually promiscuous, or someone who is even a hooker, or a criminal, or a murderer, could be spiritually redeemed, Christianity is not the religion for you.
Yeah, have you ever heard of Paul? Or just, like, anybody, I don't know. It's just, like, if you think that there are certain sins that you just, like, you can't be forgiven for that one. That one's too bad. It's just, like, it's just not true. Someone said, I plan on attending OCA. I do. It's just not open yet. I'm not Catholic right now, though. But I am going to Mass. But I'm not Catholic. Like, confirmed. Yeah. It's kind of complicated. I was raised, like, Baptist, non-denominational. That's, like, my background. But, I am learning.
Christianity is radically offensive precisely because it keeps insisting that grace interrupts human ranking systems. Pride must die, ego must die, all that. So Christianity insists that your instinct to rank yourself morally above someone else is often the very thing putting you spiritually in danger, which, after a month here of delving into Christian Twitter X, my entire feed is now essentially just this. The religious community repeatedly trying to place themselves above one another. I mean, you could even say Sheets' own post where he describes his wife as more pure than most virgins.
But that's also why, even with this stream, I'm hesitant to say anything that puts me morally superior over anyone else, you know? Because then you're basically being a hypocrite by saying all these people act like they're morally superior, almost as if you think you yourself are, like, morally superior. You know what I mean? Like, again, I think these conversations are good and important to have, but, it's still, I think I know why she really made this video. What do you mean? I wouldn't leave a convicted child with kids if they repented. Yeah, that's fair. I think that comes down to, like, the societal consequences of what you did. However, I think that is I saw people using that a lot with this whole, like, I would never marry someone who was promiscuous, which then you have to kind of ask yourself, like, what does promiscuous really mean? Did they sleep, you know, with one or two people, or were they long-term relationships? Did they sleep with, like, tons of people? Did they do OnlyFans? Because that's a totally different conversation, you know what I mean? And these are things that, like, you as a person would have to take into consideration before you were in a relationship with someone. However, that's very, very different than someone who is doing something non-consensually with a child. Like, those are two very, very different things, and I don't love conflating the two, because I just think those are two completely different things.
Is that to glorify God, or is that to tear down other women? I don't know. But I do know bitter battles all day about whether Mary is an eternal virgin, debunking the Pope, saying all Catholics or all Protestants are going to hell, saying Sheets' wife is a whore. It's kind of giving hell. It's kind of giving hell vibes. To quote one guy responding to Sheets' post, "If Twitter was my only interaction with Christianity, I would be an atheist." And I actually love the interaction he had with another guy right after this. "Have you considered that maybe this place is actually satanic? Sure do have a lot of posts on here. Probably can't quit, huh? You have 5.3 thousand and you joined in January. Shut Bro, I need help too, dude." Fair enough.
Fair enough. It's like, no, I'm not even judging you. I also need help. This place is evil. I think we can all agree Twitter is just a toxic, evil, awful place. Like, there is just so much bad on Twitter. It's like, bro, I need help too. Help me. We all need Jesus so desperately, man.
Ironically, that "bro, I need help too, dude" is the closest thing you're going to find to online Christianity. And you know what? I believe in you too. You can do it. You can escape, guys. You got this. Seriously, the saddest part of all this X discourse, though, is that almost everyone involved actually has...
I will say it does kind of feel at times like she's like talking down to people, which does almost... I think maybe she's trying to be funny, but like the way she said, like, "I believe in you," like, I'm like, maybe you're trying to joke, but like it does kind of feel like you feel like you're morally superior now. But I don't know.
As a human story worth hearing. But the second it gets pushed through the public performance machine, everything becomes flat. Because the way Sheets' original post reads is basically, "My wife partied, converted, and now she's morally superior to half of you virgins." Which understandably lands like, "Look at all you losers abstaining for nothing, while others got to speedrun chaos and emerge spiritually elite." But that's not the story at all. In reality, Sheets' wife's testimony is really quite tragic and nuanced. His wife grew up without a father, was exposed to porn at 11, drifted into drugs, sex, and...
Is it just me, or do I feel like that's a common thing nowadays? Like, I think I was also exposed to porn at like, I think I was 10, 11. I think that was how old I was. I also grew up without a father. Wow, maybe I'm just too emotionally invested.
New Age circles as a young teen, and was later groomed, controlled, and abused by a 50-year-old cult leader.
Yeah, that's
She
crazy.
became suicidal, overdosed multiple times, and nearly died before eventually turning her life around at 18. But none of this depth survives the format of virality, because
But he didn't talk about that in the post. Not that he had to, I guess, but like, nobody seemed to know any of that until like later on. A few people did a little more digging, and I know some people mentioned it later on, but he didn't mention that in his post. So how were people supposed to know that part? I don't know.
Once it hits X, it just immediately becomes symbolic ammunition where people read it as, "Men, you must forgive and marry the OnlyFans girl while staying pure yourself, or you're a bad Christian," which is obviously ridiculous. Just the mere image of the...
This whole video is her judging Christians/non-Christians about their behavior and morality, while addressing at the beginning that she had no right to judge, yet made the video anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think in a way she's kind of admitting she is a hypocrite. However, I will say I think the video is still solid in a lot of ways. Like, I'm still honestly kind of glad she made the video. I mean, I think it's a solid video in certain ways, but I think you can also point that out as well. Interesting. There's like multiple... I keep pausing. She has very like expressive facial reactions. I was exposed at 8. Parents were getting divorced at that time too. I'm sorry. Yeah, I feel like people, like, I don't know, I feel like it was just like common. People just like it just almost everyone I know found it whenever they were like kids, like pretty young, you know? I don't know. And then I was like 11, 12 going on Omegle and like Tiny Chat, and it's bad stuff. No parents were monitoring my internet usage at all.
Equally deranged manosphere fantasy where men are encouraged to sleep with everyone and then retire into moral purity by marrying the tattoo-free virgin. Most people are probably best suited to partners whose histories, values, and wounds make sense to them personally. But, you know, that's just a boring conversation. It's bland. No one wants to listen to that. All of this,
No,
I think,
people
could be
wanna
sorted
hear,
out in
"You're
like
a
a
whore."
5-minute adult conversation between someone like
You're a
Sheets
whore,
and someone
always.
criticizing him. But none of that is going to draw attention or clicks. You know what does? You know what does draw attention and clicks? Sex. Loud, exaggerated, inflammatory conversations about sex. Because sex drives engagement online. Partly because outrage sells, and partly because people are obviously a little obsessed with it. Half the internet is porn, and the other half is arguing about porn-adjacent things while pretending that's somehow spiritually elevated.
How do you call this out without judging others? I mean, I think you have to a little bit. And there is a such thing as, like, righteous judgment, right? But I think at the same time, like, I don't know. It's just so important to try and be, like, so careful when judging others, because, like, when you are judging others, you should be held to the same standards that you're judging them at. But again, I still think the topic is, like, something worth discussing, and I still think the video was a video worth making. Yeah. Mad at the messenger, not the message. Yeah, I think we have to focus more on the message itself, right? That's the most important thing.
It's been noted.
Because at least at the beginning she did say, she has no right to even say any of this anyways. We're all hypocrites to a certain degree. So she did say that, at the very least, which is good.
Quite accurately, in my opinion, by many ex-evangelicals, that sexual sin often gets treated as uniquely scandalous in a lot of Christian spaces, but Scripture warns just as strongly about pride, self-righteousness, hardness of heart.
Calling it sin is literally condemnation? I don't think calling something a sin is condemnation. You can call something like sinful or a sin without saying that person is condemned to hell. Yeah, there is a difference between those two things.
Heart and contempt for others. But we all know pride and hardness of heart are not going to generate 30 million views. So once again, this is...
Yeah, she judged herself. She said she felt she could get an insight to because she partially feels responsible. And again, I think there are certain points in the video where you could argue, you know, maybe, you know, she seems a little like she's talking down a little bit. And then in certain ways, it could be fair. In other ways, maybe. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think we should try to put that to the side and just listen to the core message. I think the core message has valuable things for us to get out of the video.
Just another way that Christian discourse becomes horrendously disordered in the era of the internet. Because once you introduce engagement or marketing, it's going to be the most exciting sins that will always be the most discussed, even if they're not necessarily the most spiritually destructive or widespread. In fact, the idea itself of a ranking system for sins, or even consequences like burning in hellfire with pitchforks for eternity, blah, 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 all this stuff that gets thrown around online, none of those things are necessarily biblical. They are allegories that aren't even from the Bible. A lot of Christian imagery, in fact, and popular ideas have just been pulled from imaginative literature.
I'm unsure what she's saying here. Is she saying that hell that hell is not biblical? What? Let's run that back for a second. Maybe I misunderstood.
Most exciting sins that will always be the most discussed, even if they're not necessarily the most spiritually destructive or widespread. In fact, the idea itself of a ranking system for sins, or even consequences like burning in hellfire with pitchforks.
I mean, at least in the Catholic Church, there are technically ranks for sins. I know not all Christians feel that way, though. I grew up believing that sin is sin. I still don't fully know how I feel about it. I'm still trying to discern all of that. But at the very least, we know there are some sins that are definitely have more weight, at the very least on earth, right? And all sin is bad, obviously. I don't know, the whole thing about hell, what she said about hell, those are depictions of Dante's Inferno. I mean, there is hell. In the Bible, it talks about hell. I'm confused right now. I know some Christians, I guess, don't fully agree on exactly what hell looks like. But I don't know. I don't know what Catholics, like what the official Catholic stance is on hell, like what it is, like what it's like. These are things I'm still looking into. I think murder is worse than, say, lying. I mean, I think that's just, like, obvious, right?
Forks for eternity, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff that gets thrown.
See, some people say hell is a place away from God. It's not eternal punishment. There are multiple biblical references, like the lake of fire. But, like, some people believe it's eternal punishment. I mean, I've always been told, like, any church I ever went to taught that it was eternal punishment. But then I know some churches, I guess, don't believe that. I mean, I don't know. I want to be with Christ in heaven, so I'm not sure. I don't know. All I know is I don't want to go to hell, whatever it is.
Going around online. None of those things are necessarily biblical. They are allegories that aren't even from the Bible. A lot of Christian imagery, in fact, and popular ideas have just been pulled from imaginative literature like Milton's Paradise Lost or Dante's Divine Comedy. And even if we look at something like the Divine Comedy, Dante places the lustful, those who have been involved in sexual sin, relatively high in the Inferno, while sins tied to pride, fraud, betrayal, and cold-hearted spiritual corruption descend much deeper. So essentially, the based signalers using Christianity for internet points and telling everyone they're gonna burn in hellfire, they are placed much lower in Dante's vision of hell that they are referencing than people who have a bit of a slutty past. So the Christian question is not who has the cleaner resume, it is who has repented, who is humble, and who understands their need for grace. And this is exactly why the Gospel of Luke gives us the prodigal son. The scandal of that story is not the reckless son returning, it's the older brother being just furious that grace is being given so freely. True. Because he did everything right. And
yeah, are you guys familiar with the prodigal son? I'll read it for you guys. Let's read some scripture. Prodigal son parable, Bible Gateway. Luke 15:11-32, the parable of the lost son. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. 'Your brother has come,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back, safe and sound.' The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost, but now he's found." That is so powerful. Like, the Bible is so good. No one can ever say the Bible is like boring or like just like not like well written. Like, obviously it's well written. It's the best book in the history of books ever, obviously, but that's a great story. Great parable.
Still cannot tolerate mercy being extended to someone who failed publicly. That is the deeper flaw Christ points at. Not simply sin, but resentment towards forgiveness itself. And that remains one of Christianity's most offensive ideas to proud people, that grace often feels profoundly unfair.
Yep.
And we saw that in some of the responses to Sheets. However, I think...
Yeah, like when people were like, how convenient that you would become a Christian after you were promiscuous when you were younger, excuse me. You know, it's blah, blah, blah. It's like, well...
One thing I sympathize
Life
with
isn't
that puts
fair.
skepticism into hyperdrive in the online age is the fact that...
Actually, if life was fair, like I said earlier, if everything was fair, we would just all go to hell. You know, if it was fair. If we all just got what we deserved.
Online, it's usually not just grace alone being given, but attention, applause, new audiences, speaking opportunities, money, and influence, which changes the conversation entirely. Because now the question is not simply whether someone is being forgiven, it's whether redemption itself has become a product, which is where the story of the prodigal son can be abused. And that brings us to performative redemption. When I wrote my book that I published last summer, I talked openly about a lot of failures in my own life. Messy relationships, drugs, clout chasing, all of it. But I also wrote about some of the healthier things that came after that. How I built routines, how I stepped back from the internet, how I think my relationship with God became more honest and less theatrical. But I was very careful not to frame it as some grand redemption arc, because I'm writing a memoir at 30. You could catch me in 2 years doing crack and espionage for China. I have no idea. I know myself well enough, though, to know human beings do not arrive in one clean final form and then remain there forever. So even if what I'm saying now is true, that doesn't mean I am permanently finished becoming a disaster. I can promise you that. And that mattered to me, which is why I got super triggered when I saw one of the, albeit few, negative reviews of my book that called it performative redemption slop. The basic criticism was this, that it resembled a familiar evangelical genre, the dramatic testimony arc. I was lost, I was sinful, I was reckless, now I'm found, now I understand, now buy my book. And I understood exactly what this critic meant, even if I don't think that's fully what I wrote, because I felt that temptation, the temptation to say, I'm good now. Those mistakes belong to the old me, and I have emerged from the fire carrying wisdom for the masses. It is so seductive to do that because it gives your life a narrative shape. It lets you become coherent and turns all of the regrets you've ever had into new branding. And if I'm honest, I mean, maybe like the viewer suggested, I did lean toward that shape in parts of my book without fully realizing it, caveats and all.
Well, I do think, like, if you have repented and God does change you, like, I do think in certain ways, I mean, you're forgiven, right? You know, God forgives you and you can become better. Doesn't mean you're perfect, though. It doesn't mean you have it all figured out and, like, your whole life is, like, you know, awesome by any means. You know what I mean? Like, I have my testimony up on my channel and I talk about, like, you know, I hit rock bottom basically, and that's where, you know, I found God, was at rock bottom. I think it's a common thing. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, honestly, I think it's great when people have very boring testimonies. You know, you don't have to have a crazy life-shattering testimony for it to be meaningful and powerful, but she made this video because it's personal. I mean, don't most people make videos because it's personal? Like, I feel like whenever I stream something or talk about something, it's because it's like, well, it's not always like super personal, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of things I talk about, it's because you care about it and it's personal to you. I mean, that's the whole reason I wanted to react to this video. A lot of this stuff felt somewhat personal and also just like relevant, and like I care about a lot of these topics, so I think that's fair.
Because maybe even while warning against redemption narratives, part of me still wants one or wanted one. That's just what human beings are naturally drawn toward. We're all drawn toward the most flattering version of our own story. The one where we are the protagonist and we eventually emerge narratively justified. I want a cinematic tale. You want one. Everyone wants that. We want our lives to make sense. I think of T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral, where Archbishop Thomas Becket knows he's going to be killed for opposing the political order of his time, and he's doing something that is good, like objectively a moral thing to do. But even he has to sit there and confront whether he is just acting on principle or whether a part of him is thinking more about the glory of martyrdom. Like, I want a cool story. I want people to think I'm the good guy. It's not just about doing the good thing. Because that's just how obsessed we are with a good story, in ways where even the deepest...
Yeah, obsessed with a good story, and also obsessed with people like, what's the word, liking us and supporting us, and you know what I mean? Like we want a good story. We also just want people to affirm us. That's the word. You want people to affirm you. Metal Tyrant, thank you so much for the 20 with the happy belated birthday message. I really appreciate it. May your beliefs bring you joy. Thank you. I appreciate that. I had a good birthday. Thank you. In my opinion, Satan wants you to believe what you've done is so bad that even Jesus can't pull you out of the hole. When you're at rock bottom especially. Oh, 100%. Satan wants you to think that you could never have forgiveness, and that even if you've tried to ask for forgiveness or you have asked for forgiveness, that it's not enough.
Of virtues we can pursue become vanity. You can do the right thing for reasons that are completely crooked. We get so attached to things like our own suffering because all of this makes us feel narratively important. And once again, I feel myself doing this in real time. I have to be so careful about not letting my mind rewrite reality into something cleaner than it is, because performance for someone like me who grew up online, it's not just an occasional temptation, it is my baseline programming. And I have watched both myself and people that I know sink so deeply into that programming of always putting on a performance for the audience that eventually there's almost nothing underneath it. No stable self or core values, just total audience capture. Just looking to the next role or reinvention, the next identity that preserves attention. That is the entire culture of the internet right now. I mean, look at someone like Clavicular. They're constantly having to do the next big, exciting thing, constantly having to manufacture a new kind of drama to stay in the public eye. It's part of the reason that I've taken so much time off the internet to try to build a self outside of the different online projections and identities I've had. And yet still, as I work on this video, I spend hours thinking about how I'm going to be perceived. I can't get rid of that. So I'm just increasingly trying to acknowledge that there's...
In a way, you have to also think about how you're going to be perceived, because you have to think very carefully before you speak. So I don't think it's all bad to think about it, but it definitely can become toxic.
Always an aspect of performance, and there always will be. I think the biggest danger begins when we pretend otherwise, because the moment we deny the performance that we are putting on, we become vulnerable to other people's performances too, and we stop seeing reality. Take a look at someone like Milo Yiannopoulos. A few years ago, Milo announced he was ex-gay, began appearing in overtly religious spaces, selling statues of Mary, talking publicly about opening gay conversion centers, and presenting himself as if he had entered a dramatic new spiritual chapter. And I say this without any moral outrage, just observationally, anyone with even a modest amount of worldly wisdom could tell Milo was still being Milo. Because Milo has always been, above all else, a profoundly performative person.
I will say I've only ever seen this guy on Twitter, but insufferable. Absolutely insufferable.
Understands attention almost instinctively. And everyone I knew who has worked in politics saw right through this immediately because they understand that public identity is often half conviction, half production, and sometimes less than half conviction. And sure enough, recently he announced essentially that he is in fact still gay. Or ex-gay. Which felt less like shocking breaking news and more like somebody confirming that the sky still remains operationally blue. And yet somehow
So like he's saying that he was actually always gay, he was never ex-gay? I don't understand. What? Okay.
I still saw overtly religious accounts reacting as though they had witnessed a metaphysical betrayal. So it was all a lie? As if Milo had just shattered a long-standing reputation for quiet interior sincerity. And I think part of why this shock happens is that when religion is absorbed primarily through internet culture, you inherit largely the language without any of the depth. Like, if you take a look at this guy's account, it's almost entirely, follow me if you think everything is gay now. Follow me if you don't like Somalis. Follow if you like Christian memes, coomers, trannies, my girlfriend has balls. Follow me. When your religious views are based signaling and follows, it's no surprise you fall for people who are also just based signaling for follows. There's no there. It's all surface level social group signaling for clout. Although honestly with Milo, I don't even know at this point if it's in-group signaling so much as it's just getting paid to say this stuff or click farming, because what even is this? It's Catholics and Muslims versus Protestants and Jews. Be on the right side of the line when they're...
What does this even mean? What is the right side? What?
The curtain comes down. I don't even know what's going on anymore. I don't know, guys.
What?
Now, the other side of this, why people fall for public redemption stories, I think often comes from a much more sincere place. Because a lot of genuinely faithful Christians project their own moral instincts onto public figures. They think, I wouldn't lie about God, so why would he? And because of that, they often don't have a strong theory of mind for just how performative media personalities can become after years of living in front of cameras. And
I will say I can be a little naive sometimes and just assume everyone has good intentions. But it comes from a good place, chat, I promise.
On top of that, Christians are understandably hopeful. They want to believe that someone has changed. They want to see public affirmation of faith, which is why the sudden public conversion of someone like Russell Brand lands so powerfully. For most of his public life, Brand was associated with a very different moral and intellectual posture. Atheism, libertine sexuality, progressive politics, new age language, whatever the mood and the era required. Then, after public collapse, sexual assault allegations, and criminal charges in the UK, he suddenly has this highly visible Christian turn. Now, the charitable interpretation of this is very emotionally satisfying, sinner to redeemed. Whereas skeptics might think, that's a very convenient time to be converting there, buddy. Very convenient. And again, timing proves nothing.
But isn't that just what people were saying about the OnlyFans girl? That it's convenient timing? I don't think it's necessarily, I don't know a lot about Russell Brand, so I'm not gonna, defend or say anything, because I just really don't know. But, if that's your only argument, that it's convenient timing, I feel like you could say that about anything. It's, not a good argument, I feel like. And it feels hypocritical to say that you can't say that about OnlyFans girls, but that you can say it about Russell Brand. Does that make sense, chat? What I'm saying? I don't know if I'm, articulating myself very well right now. Because it feels, very hypocritical to say, it's, very convenient, Russell, that you went through all this stuff and now you're a Christian. And it's okay, well, people were saying that about the OnlyFans girls. It's very convenient that you made all this money and now you're a Christian. It's you can't have it one way and not the other. It's hypocrisy either way. If you're going to criticize one, you'd have to criticize both, I feel like.
Alone. But timing does explain why people ask questions, especially when that turn he had is immediately made extremely public. It wasn't like a quiet church attendance that leaked to the internet or years of private...
Yeah, it depends if it's genuine, but the thing is, we can't really always tell if it's genuine, right? I can't see inside someone's heart. I can see, like, how they act and their behaviors, but, like, at the end of the day, I really don't know if someone really believes in God or not, you know, or if it's genuinely a grift, or if maybe they do believe, but they're just maybe not the best at it. Like, especially new converts who are going to, you know, maybe get some theology wrong. They're going to be confused about certain things. They're probably not going to be the best at everything. And I mean, no one is, but I just feel like, I don't know. Like, how do you prove that someone really believes in God? I mean, some people think that I'm a grifter. They think that I don't actually believe in God. How do I prove it to them, you know? How do I prove to you that I believe in God? I can't prove it to you. I can't, you know, let you see inside my brain. Like, maybe one day we'll have that. You know what I mean? Oh, you can tell if someone's being genuine? I feel like sometimes it's hard to tell. But ultimately, I rest easy in the fact that it's not up to me if someone is truthfully a Christian. I'm not the judge. I don't have to worry about it.
Discipleship, or even disappearing for a while to learn under a spiritual authority or something. It was an immediate public baptism by Bear Grylls. Speaking tour, podcast.
Whoa. What happened?
That's a very convenient time to be converting there, buddy. Very convenient. And again, you know, timing proves nothing alone. But timing does explain why people ask questions.
Out.
Especially when that turn he had is immediately made extremely public. It wasn't like a quiet church attendance that leaked to the internet, or years of private discipleship, or even disappearing for a while to learn under a spiritual authority or something. It was an immediate public baptism by Bear Grylls. Speaking tour, podcasts, and then almost the beginning of his own ministry overnight, including filming himself baptizing people at a zoo in front of penguins.
I mean, listen, I definitely think there's something to say about, like, new converts shouldn't immediately jump into teaching. I think there can also be a desire that can come from a good place, but as they say, the road to hell is paved or with good intentions, or whatever. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. There can be a desire to, like, share your faith and to share. You're so excited about God, so you're you want to share it and you want to talk about it and you want to teach people what you've learned. But the Bible also literally says to basically not do that. Like, isn't it something about, like, you have to drink the milk before you can... What's the Bible verse? I hate whenever I'm thinking of a Bible verse, but I don't know it, like, verbatim. I don't want to, like, butcher it. Yeah. I have fed you with milk and not with meat. I have gave you milk, not solid food, for you were not yet ready for it. Indeed, you are still not ready. From 1 Corinthians 3:2 and Hebrews 5:12-14. They instruct newer Christians need simple foundational truths before being ready for deeper theological concepts, which also would include, obviously, you know, teaching. I mean, if you yourself, you know, are not ready for deeper concepts, then you're certainly not ready to teach things. You know?
Azu! Can we be so for real right now? Like,
also, yeah, I don't know, the baptism thing. I mean, technically, I don't know how Catholics feel about that. I'm learning now, because, like, now that I'm attending Mass, like, everything's so different than, like, whenever I grew up Baptist and, like, non-denominational. Like, from a non-denominational perspective, and I guess Baptist too, at least some Baptists, I don't know. Different churches are different. But, like, any Christian can baptize another Christian, as long as you baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I don't know how Catholics feel about that. I don't know if I mean, I know, like, Catholics consider our baptisms valid if they're done in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But technically, a lot of Christians do believe that anyone can baptize. In a zoo, it's a little weird. I don't really know how safe it is either. I don't know what's going on, but okay.
Like, it's not that baptism? Hasn't been public theater before. But usually it's connected to a local church and community accountability. You know, the Christian authority to baptize is not usually improvised.
I will say, I don't know if this is bad to say. I always wished, I don't know if this is bad, like, to say that you wish something like this. I always wish that I would have gotten baptized in, like, a river. If I ever see someone get baptized in a river, like, there's this one church, and every summer they do these, like, huge baptisms with lots of people at the river. And it's, like, so, I don't know, it's just so cool. Like, the thought of getting baptized in a river, I don't know if that's bad, because, like, I'm grateful for my baptism, obviously. Just the way it was very special to me. But, I don't know, something about being baptized in a river is just cool to me. I don't know. Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
5 minutes after a personal awakening, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that real spiritual change can happen in the public eye, because I think the temptation to perform only disappears when you step away from the stage and can hear your own thoughts. And to be clear, I can't tell you whether Russell Brand is being genuine. I don't know his heart. People absolutely can change. But skepticism is not unreasonable either. It just means sincerity and spectacle are very hard to separate when someone has spent an entire career turning personal transformation into content, which is why I think the Bible was very deliberate to warn against exactly this. In Matthew 6:5, Jesus says, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen." This is not the only verse that talks about not making a public spectacle of one's faith or holiness. All of the
I mean, I think that's very fair, but I think also in the Bible there are multiple instances of where they were preaching in the public and, you know, proclaiming the word of Christ. I don't know. Let's hear what she has to say.
These warnings exist within the Bible for the exact purpose of preventing crowdsourced and performative Christianity. So how does one make a distinction between Christian and non-Christian if holding up crucifixes for media photos and taking pictures in Deus Vult hoodies means the opposite of Christian behavior? Well, I am reminded of an old 4chan acronym, GIRL, G-I-R-L. It stood for...
I was about to say, what are we doing with this? I was not expecting to find a Stolfo in the Lauren Southern video. Bro, what is this, Lauren? What are you doing?
For guy in real life. Anytime someone claimed to be a woman online, people would immediately go, sure you are, buddy. Sure you are. Partly because back then, a lot of political forums were overwhelmingly male, and still are. And also partly because plenty of men absolutely did and still do pretend to be women on the internet for attention, leverage, and sheer internet weirdness. Eventually, some actual women on the forum would object, saying, hey guys, some of us really are women, not girls. And the response, well, not exactly charitable, contained what I think is a strangely useful point. It doesn't actually matter here. Your argument still has to stand on its own, so your label proves nothing. So in that sense, on 4chan, we are all girls here, and we reject your desire to credential yourself. And honestly, I increasingly think about online Christianity the same way. A controversial thing I have landed on after all this kind of thinking about it has been, I don't really believe in Christianity online. I don't. And it's not because Christians can't use the internet, but because a cross in your bio, scripture in your username, or declaring yourself a Christian tells me nothing useful. Just like on the old forums, the label itself has no authority here. What matters is how you behave, how you treat people, what kind of spirit follows you, and whether there is really any depth there once the performance falls away. And that's the fundamental problem, isn't it? None of that is observable online. We are all characters here. Even when we are sincere, we are still selecting what to show in real time for an audience. And
I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about real life, though. I mean, you still can be performative in real life. I kind of understand what she's saying, but to say, like, there are no Christians online because you just can't tell I don't know. I feel like she was trying to go for this slam dunk ending of the video of like, no online Christians. I don't know about that. Okay.
And
Strawb, are you a girl? Do I sound like a girl? Do I seem like a girl? Of course I'm a girl. I'm a woman.
The internet is just built to reward exactly the parts of religion that are easiest to imitate. Certainty, slogans, moral posturing. Which is why, I mean, a lot of you probably already know this, but...
I get that it's basically the 4chan comparison. I just think it's kind of a dumb thing to say. I don't know.
I don't think you should be looking for a spiritual authority here. Certainly not from influencers, and certainly not from politicians. Once again, that doesn't mean there's nothing online that has value. But spiritually, I think you have to treat it like a video game. I enjoy playing Arc Raiders, for example. I think it sharpens certain instincts. It definitely gives me dopamine. I get to catch up with friends. But I am under no illusion that it improves my actual shooting skills unless I go to a real range. And in the same way, there's nobody out here developing a spiritual life through a screen. It's like spirituality itself is about transcending.
I mean, there's nobody developing a spiritual life through a screen. I think there has to be more to it than, you know, online, but I think that you can definitely develop your spiritual life on, like, with online things as well. Like, I watch plenty of videos on YouTube and, like, you know, reading the Bible online whenever I need to, like, look something up really quickly, or having the Bible app on my phone, the Hallow app for, like, daily mass readings and, like, you know, daily reflections. I'm not saying that that's the entirety of, you know, your religion, but, like, and, like, building your relationship with God, but I think you can definitely help, or that can definitely help you grow your relationship with God. Paul wrote letters to the churches. Online can be another way to communicate. Yeah, I mean, I found, like, definitely an online community, like, especially with my Discord server. Like, on Wednesdays, we've been doing Bible studies at, like, 2 p.m. EST. That's been nice, and, you know, we chat in my Discord. We have, like, a Christianity channel where we talk about things sometimes. I've definitely gotten, like, insight from different people that on, like, topics that's interesting. Even, like, yeah, streams where we've talked about certain things that have been interesting, and, like, made me think more. So I don't think that's necessarily, I don't know if that's what she's saying, but I don't think that's entirely true.
The material realm, but when you're online, you're not even in the material realm. You gotta log off just to get there. And I know all of this, I get it. I know all of this sounds like my final defense of Christianity is just, well, you know, this isn't real Christianity. The stuff you're seeing online, that's not real Christianity.
A letter is fundamentally different than a social media. Yes and no. I mean, it's still communication. Like, you're still being able to communicate with people that you're not physically with. Obviously, it's different, but...
And I know that people hate that. They get really annoyed when any ideology is defended this way. That wasn't real communism. Because this always sounds like somebody trying to rescue an idea by redefining it after all the damage has been done. But Christianity is genuinely unusual because the text itself, unlike something like the Communist Manifesto, spends half its time predicting this exact problem. A shocking amount of the New Testament is basically just, hey guys, a lot of people will claim spiritual authority. Many of them are just motivated by ego, power, money, or control. And many of them are going to sound super convincing, and here is how to tell. And then the remaining half is just like letters to churches already behaving terribly almost immediately. It's honestly remarkable how little optimism the New Testament has about institutional human nature. And
I don't know if that's the takeaway that I get from the New Testament. I somewhat understand what she's trying to say, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't really like how she said that, honestly.
And even if you look at great, well-respected Christian writers like C.S. Lewis and T.S. Eliot, who I reference in this video, both of them warned incessantly that many people who call themselves Christian may not understand the word at all, and that some people who reject that label may embody it more deeply than those who publicly wear it. I cannot even begin to fathom what the two of them would say if they saw a world post-iPhone. There's just this unbridgeable divide between spiritual life and the internet. And I think that's a good thing. You know, God, if the word means anything, points towards something too large for binary code to carry. And call me crazy, but even off the internet, I just don't think God is usually found on stages with fireworks or crosses raised at the perfect moment for a...
God is actually everywhere. All the time. He is everywhere in everything.
Applause or an election. I think God is found in much quieter places. But given that one of the most universally traumatic experiences in modern life now appears to be forgetting your headphones on the bus and suddenly being forced to hear your own mind boot up, I'm not convinced many of us are sitting still long enough to feel anything deeper than distraction anymore. And I'm not even going to pretend to know the solution to that, because clearly even when I try to log off, when I write a book about logging off, it all still pulls me back in. I'm just as addicted as anybody else, and I don't know what to do. All I know is I'd like if we had fewer public prophets pretending they do. All right, guys, a few things I wanted to mention before I head out here. First of all, meet Musher. This is a very important addition to my life. Her name's Mishka, but as you know with any cat, she only goes by 400 different nicknames. Hi, Musher. Mish Moosh. And then the other things are where to find me and my relationship with the internet. Because I notice every time I make a post...
Okay. I don't think that has anything to do with the video. I'm going to run to the bathroom really quick, and then we can chat and kind of like summarize what we're thinking. Okay, I'll be right back. Hello. I have returned. Hold on. Okay, let's talk. So what'd you guys think? What'd you guys think of the video? Honest thoughts. Also, Rev is going to be live in 3 minutes. Does he have any mods? And Strawb is also live. I'm about to end. Not a big deal. He'll probably be a couple minutes late anyways. And his starting soon screen runs for a few minutes anyways, whenever he starts stream. I missed the whole thing basically, but it's a given that it's Christ versus culture. Most love the world more than God. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we all struggle with, right? It's definitely a struggle. I liked what someone said earlier in the stream, that like, because the title is kind of like, where does Christ fit into the culture war? But the truth is, like, we can't make Christ fit into the culture war. Like, either culture fits with Christ or it doesn't. So you either, like, you can't fit Christ in. Christ is, like, it. And if the culture war, you know, fits with Christ, then you keep it. If it doesn't, you trash it, basically. Now, how does that actually look? I mean, people are going to have probably different feelings on that, but your takeaway is, I think online is nuts. Yeah, I feel that way. I feel that way too. If you want to help people, just help in your local area or family members, because charity starts at home. I definitely think it's important to get involved in a local church community and get plugged in there. I don't think being online is a bad thing necessarily, like inherently. Obviously, like all good things, it can become bad, right? But I do think it's important to have like an IRL church family and community to be a part of. You guys are welcome for this stream. Yeah, people want the aesthetic of Christianity and mistake intensity for sincerity. I think that can definitely happen. We've become extremely materialistic and vain. Proof Rev is strawb with the voice changer? Obviously. Man, if me and Rev were the same person, that would be a lot. Rev already makes a lot of content on his own. Can you imagine if also everything I've ever done was actually also him? When would he sleep? That would be crazy. My mom always said that we are in the world but not part of the world. Yeah, it's like in the Bible it says like we're supposed to be in the world but not of the world, right? Online is a mixed bag, yeah. But I think online can be good too in certain ways. And I do think, like, I was saying on Twitter too, I was like, I think the culture war in a lot of ways is important. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, like, sorry, my voice is so, like, hold on. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that, like, there's nothing important about it. Obviously, I disagree with that because I'm someone who talks about different stuff with, like quote-unquote culture war. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are certain things that are important. I just think that we have to be intentional about the things that we're talking about and keep Christ at the center. I think it's just important for everyone to remember to keep Christ at the center of everything that we do and talk about. Because if you're not keeping Christ at the center of it, but you say you're a Christian, it's just like, what's the point, you know? Like, to quote-unquote fight the culture war with Christ not being at the center, what's even the point of it? What are we doing? Hello? Okay, yeah, I was about to end. Okay. I had people in my chat saying that you were about to be live.
I'm just gonna go to the bathroom.
See, chat, we're not the same person.
Yeah, that's right. We're just getting very good with the voice change.
Okay.
Stream.
I'll be in there in a couple minutes. Okay. But yeah. Twitter was like broken earlier. It was just not working out. I don't know what happened ever since Elon bought and took over Twitter, but it's like it breaks every other day. Good voice throwing trick? Yeah, we gotcha. Yeah, you guys can head over to Rev's stream if you want to watch him. He's talking about stuff today. My stream is over now, but I appreciate you guys for being here. I enjoyed this a lot. I think it was a productive and good conversation. Thank you guys for being sweet and civil and just, I don't know. I have a great chat. I really appreciate you guys for being so I don't know, just willing to talk and discuss even if we don't always see eye to eye on everything. That's okay. I still love you guys, and it's just nice to have you here. So I will see you again. I don't know if I'm gonna stream tomorrow. I might stream tomorrow. If you'll see a waiting room if it goes up, but feel free to check me out on obviously YouTube. You can subscribe if you'd like, hit the like button, all the things. Yeah, I have Twitter if you want to check me out on Twitter. We have the Discord. It is 18 and older. For safety reasons, if you'd like to join the Discord, it's just discord.gg/darlingstrawb. You're more than welcome in there. Oh, and my plushie! I forgot to pin my plushie today. I forgot to pin it in chat. And I didn't do a goal either. I'm a terrible streamer. What am I doing? I'm just kidding. If you want to go buy a Strawb plushie, there is still 15 days left to do so. We have sold 166 plushies. That's wild. Yeah, you can also get Rev's plushie if you want, because they are better together. It is true. I'll put his link also in the description. Excuse me. They're better together. They don't want to be separated. That would be sad. Here's his. He's at 240. Guys, we're falling behind. To be fair, he has streamed and made videos like every day, and I have not. That's okay. But I really, really appreciate all the support on the campaign. Again, there's 15 days left, so you still have plenty of time if you'd like. It is a pledge campaign, so you pledge $3, and then once the pledge is already, the campaign's already 100%, so they'll charge the remaining $32 in 16 days, pretty much 15 days and 7 hours. So yes. Okay, well, enjoy Rev's stream. I don't know, can I update my thing to where we raid out into his stream? Let me see real quick. I think I can go into my... Is it YouTube Studio that would do it? Content live. Details. I know you can do this. It's a matter of... Oh, redirect. Here you go. Rev says Desu. Redirect privilege is needed. He's not in my redirect live list. Fake news. Well, I tried. I'll have to fix that later. I can just put his link in the chat. Because I'm probably going to hop in on his stream and just sit in there. I don't know if I'll speak today. He always tells me, he's like, you can come in and talk and do whatever. But sometimes I feel a little weird because I'm like, I don't want to annoy people. I feel like his chat I feel like likes me, but for some reason I feel like people are gonna get annoyed and be like, ugh, it's the wife again. Like, I just want to hear Rev speak. But Rev always tells me he likes it when I'm in there, so he's like, anytime you want to come in, you can come in and hang out with me. So at least he loves me. But yes, I'll see you guys in there. Bye Rima, thanks for stopping by. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye.